welcome each one of you to Nizamabad and to Development Dialogue 2019. I was born and brought up in Nizamabad, and that makes me naturally invested in the growth of Tier 2 towns. It gives me great pleasure that today at this conference in Nizamabad, which is serving as a meeting point for influencers, global visionaries, for-profits, not-for-profits, CSR executives, government officials, the local youth and the local communities. It is great that we have all gathered today here with a common vision to collaborate and actively contribute to the bottom-up model of growth in Tier 2 towns and in rural Telangana. It is this vision that has led to the birth of Kakatiya Sandbox 5 years ago. Since its inception, Kakatiya Sandbox has been collaborating with various organizations and created a large-scale impact in rural Telangana. It has fostered social innovation through entrepreneurship. The Sandbox initiatives impact a child who is in a mother's womb by providing nutrition, delivery and child care through Save a Mother program. When the child is in growing stage, it sparks his curiosity through Agastya Foundation. When the child reaches college, he or she is counseled through Nirman, molded through LEAD, a leadership program, and skilled and placed through DET, Deshpande Educational Trust Program. The Sandbox touches the lives of farmers through Better Cotton initiatives and farm pond programs. It has fostered an entrepreneurship ecosystem through Navodhyami, a program for micro-entrepreneurs, and through Time Nizamabad. As we can see, over the years, Kakatiya Sandbox has made significant progress and has created substantial social impact at various levels. This brings us to the next level of challenges and how we can co-create the next wave of impact, which is the theme of today's conference, Reimagining Impact. I hope that through today's dialogue, we ideate on how to overcome the next challenges and reimagine what it takes to scale effectively. So let us begin the fourth development dialogue with an invocation prayer.
Yeah. It would have been a dream to see such a thing come out of NIZAMABAD. Right? I mean, it's common in Hyderabad and maybe other places, but it's so heartening to see how the city is transforming and how the creativity is nurturing here. So, anyway, good morning to you all, and welcome to the Development Dialogue 2019, and to our hometown, NIZAMABAD. I mean, I can see a lot of familiar faces here, and many of you are very busy in your lives, but yet made time to come here. Thank you to all of you who traveled all the way here to participate in Development Dialogue. Some of you are already into social enterprises, and some of you are here maybe to understand and get a glimpse of what is a social impact venture. I think about 5 odd years ago, I was one of those who would go to events like this to understand what is the social impact, and how does it work, how do people dedicate their lives to transform and contribute to society without even thinking about their own families and their next families and etc. So I come from a for-profit world. Over there, even we work hard, but then there's a light at the end of the tunnel. If all our efforts result in a success, we have all the kind of pleasures of the world, children are taken care of, family, the financial freedom comes in, and etc. But contrast to that, the entrepreneurs who work in the not-for-profit sector, right, work equally hard and even maybe much harder than what we do. Because they don't have financial resources, at least we have venture capital, etc. But still, there is nothing at the end of the tunnel for them and their families. So that quest and that curiosity has always remained with me until 5 years ago when Raju Reddy, who was in my board at Red Bus and also as an investor in Red Bus, he came to me and said he wants to start a social impact venture to contribute to India, right? And then he asked me if I would like to join him, and that was like a godsend gift to me, because I could just jump in and understand the sector and how it goes, and that's how my journey started. And once we started on this journey, the first thing we wanted to do was understand what model to work on. So we went studying about different models, and that expedition took us to Hoopi. We read a case study, the Hoopi Sandbox, the case study in Harvard Business School, and it was very well known. So we went there to understand how it works and what makes it tick. So one of the things that we like the most there, and one of the things actually Raju likes, is for him, Sandbox has the rigor of business with the compassion of not-for-profit. They keep saying about it all the time. And I could see that actually at Sandbox in Hooghly, the ERPs, the monthly dashboards, weekly calls, the whole rigor that we have in a for-profit sector with a compassion at the ground level at the bottom of the pyramid, so at the bottom of the pyramid, that we liked very, very much. And the other thing that we like is the whole idea of Sandbox is creating an ecosystem that fosters active citizenship. Right? Active citizenship in the form of, like many of us, when we see a social problem, we may have a solution to it. Some of us think, okay, this can be done this way, or many of us blame the government could have done that way, etc. and all that. But some of us who have our own ideas, they don't see the light of the day because of the lack of an ecosystem. An ecosystem that offers the know-how, the opportunity to meet like-minded people, the resources that idea needs to see the light of the day, and etc. And Sandbox was one such ecosystem offering such thing in a clear ground where it is needed the most. Right? Personally, I am a big beneficiary of that. I mean, some of you may know my story at Red Bus. When I missed the bus from Bangalore to Nizamabad, I had this idea to solve the problem, but that idea would have just remained the idea without the ecosystem of Bangalore that helped me with all the different things that are needed to see that idea fructify as an enterprise which makes impact. So one of our responsibility, and similarly Raju is also benefited of the ecosystem in Silicon Valley. But and one of our responsibility is to create such ecosystem in places where that doesn't exist. Right? I recently read an article by the World Economic Forum. It says talent is everywhere, but opportunities are not. And that is so nicely put into words as to the thoughts that we have. You can see the talent in Nizamabad that we have just witnessed, and there is all through the day you will witness the talent that is there everywhere. And Sandbox is a way to provide opportunity to the talent and build leadership capacity. So we went to this movie Sandbox, and we liked the idea, but there was one problem. The problem was, though Deshpande Foundation had 2 sandboxes, one in the US and one in Canada and one in Hooghly, all those sandboxes were part of only Deshpande Foundation. They never had a sandbox with a third-party team, right? And the then CEO told us, the then CEO of the foundation told us that they had tried once or twice to create a sandbox outside the foundation, but really didn't work out, right? And then we were like stuck. What do we do now? And Raju went to Desh and convinced him to kind of give us a try and to start the Kapiya sandbox. That's how the first ever sandbox outside the Deshpande Foundation is born, and from then on, it's been a fantastic journey for us. We're very thankful to Deshpande Foundation for all the support that we've been providing for all these years. Not only we get the playbook, the resources, the management bandwidth from the foundation, we also get the benefit of their over 10, 12 years experience, or maybe 15 years now, experience with all the different programs, and then crafting this unique idea of sandbox. Right? Many of the programs that we do here are actually tested, tried in the sandbox. So we just take them and put them here. That improves the bang for the buck for us in Kapiya sandbox. You may ask a question as to, just now you said sandbox is all about creating an ecosystem to nurture, to foster active citizenship. And now you're saying you just take the tried and tested programs out there in Hooghly and get them here. Right? It's a contradiction of sort. But I mean, when I started on this journey, even I had this question, and I still have many questions about social impact and etc. that I keep asking Desh, Jayashree, and anybody that I come across. But in the first few days, I was told that when you come and open your door saying, here as build your ideas into enterprises, people said it won't happen, and that's the wisdom and the knowledge and the experience of Pune Sandbox. They said first we have to get programs and show what it means to build a social enterprise, how it can make an impact, the size, the scale, the know-how, the management, how it is run, right? And that's how we got those enterprises. But right now, now we are 5 years old, we can see the seeds of the new enterprises being born in Nizamabad. One such example is NIZAMABAD. Last evening, some of us had an opportunity to go to their welcome dinner, and it is so heartening as to how NIZAMABAD, which was formally launched actually in this room last year, is now not only is growing and thriving, but also making such a big impact to the society here. So NIZAMABAD, actually, I am Raju because, I've been big beneficiaries of TIE in our respective cities, and hearing from us, progressive entrepreneurs here said we will also create a TIE for Nizamabad. First, when I heard that, I was thinking TIE usually is all about the new tech businesses, big data, kind of artificial intelligence and all. How is it relevant to a tier 2 town where there is no tech business at all, right? But I've been proven wrong. The principles of business and growth remain the same, whether it is whichever business. And for the last 12 to 15 months, NIZAMABAD has been hosting leadership talk every month without fail. And I've been a part of other TIE in my respective cities, the tier 1 cities. I must say that the tier 1 cities are not as consistent as you are all. In a way, actually, the TIE Nizamabad is the magic of Sandbox, right? They say it is created because of Sandbox, and we feel, or personally I feel that Sandbox has nothing to do with it, right? We said TIE and we benefited from TIE. It is the progressive entrepreneurs here who came and said we want to create TIE Nizamabad. It is they who went and got support from like-minded entrepreneurs. Today there are a chapter of 50 such entrepreneurs, 50 members in TIE Nizamabad, and it's financially self-sufficient. The foundation or the Sandbox didn't have to give any money. They have their membership fee, they have their secretariat, they have tied with TIE Hyderabad. I was surprised just a few months ago, one of the TIE members here wrote to the CEO of Big Basket asking him to come down to TIE Nizamabad to talk about the story of Big Basket, right? And just coincidentally, just around the same time, I got a mail from PPIT Hyderabad saying if I could introduce them to the Big Basket founder so that they could invite him, right? It is such a great example of how the spirit of TIE Nizamabad, right? They're not even asking me to connect them, right? They're directly writing to the Big Basket CEO, whereas somebody that tier 1 town is asking me to connect them to a tier 1 town. So it is just so fantastic to see how TIE Nizamabad is progressing. And today, the first half of the day, we have the deliberations about impact, reimagining impact here in this room. But in the second half, we have a wonderful opportunity to go to Sandbox, the field visit at Sandbox is just across the road, and interact with all the leaders and entrepreneurs who are making such fantastic impact in the society here. With that, again, I welcome you all to Sandbox and to Development Dialogue 2019. Thank you.
So, Dinesh, how did you move from rice mill industry in 1949 to Kimoha today?
Good morning, everybody. First of all, let me just say, Naku Baga happiness actually because Nahiki Bachna. we were always, when youngsters like me, my uncle, we were joining the business, we used to think about it, how every different line has to be created for everybody. Father created rice mill, then he called elder uncle, after education he created workshop to maintain the rice mill. Then he went into the terminal policy, so the maintenance of the parts again came from workshop. Then he went into the printing, artless copying paper, just to get everything into the engineering background was the main idea. Uncle was getting graduated, and anything related to our own requirement, we were going through like casting for the railway signaling. So we were basically engineers and going into the different ventures. So the printing was in the line of going into the carpentry.
So these are the different machinery that Sri Gajanan Industries has been making for a long time now, and he comes from a family of engineers. You'll be surprised to know that the first carbonless copy paper was manufactured in Nizamabad in India. So Dinesh, can you tell us about how you went on to build that technology? This is the first machine that was built in Nizamabad, which is now in Dubai.
This is my foundation of quinoa factory in Dubai, but I'm very proud to say this manufactured by my uncle in NIZAMABAD, and I kept in display there, and I'm very proud. That's my foundation of this one. But this has given me the converting the flax road center story, because we wanted to come in the carbonless copying paper. I wanted to start there. The carbonless copying paper, business was for my uncle and me, but a machine what we ordered in India somewhere, that could not materialize. And then I had an opportunity to go to Muscat for the servicing, and I had an international store. Meantime, uncle had developed the machine, and we had a joint discussion how we move forward. And we were the first president of all the carbonless small scale industries. We manufacture in Nizamabad.
Thank you. So, yes, some of you might have heard Sri Gajanan Industries' first principle yesterday, right? Which is right is right even if no one is doing it, and wrong is wrong even if everyone is doing it. So they moved their business, the carbonless copy business, to Dubai because their competition in India was trying to evade customs, and hence the competition's price was, lower by 30%. And they couldn't do it because it was not legal, so they shifted base to Dubai, and that's how Quinoa moved to Dubai. Okay, so this is how Quinoa looks today in Dubai. They have a state-of-the-art label and paper manufacturing plant. They started with 1 million boarding passes and baggage tags in 1988, but today they print 1 million boarding passes and baggage tags every day. So how did you scale? How did you get scale?
The converting paper and one color printing, that also is all manufactured machine in India. And because with uncle I moved into a lot of exhibition. And in 1990, it is 88 now, but 95 we started registering holding us. And in 1990, I read that Dubai to go online baggage tag. And that has given me, I'm not technical, I'm commerce graduate, but I'm school done in junior technical school in Nizamabad. And that has given me a little bit of how we can do that. And one of the maiden trip to Japan for raw material getting the thermal paper, I found out there is a way to manufacture the baggage tag just 3 years later. And then in 93 I went to the exhibition, brought my machinery, and I manufactured the first baggage tag rolls for the Emirates airline in 1997. And that was the really biggest. This whole 7M can be available to succeed, but there is a top M. If that is missing, you cannot be successful whatever you have. You have resources, you have everything, and He has given you the mantra, mercy of God is always there on you. That was my success. I'm feeling why, because today is the first death anniversary of my father.
So we have a lot of things learned from Mr. Kanjibai. There is a book that is coming out on him, which is the last slide.
Management, money, machinery, method, manpower, material and market. But mercy of God is not there, you are not successful. And that is all top enemies in my principle of life. He just passed away exactly 1 year back.
We're very fortunate that Mr. Kanjibai, you decided to migrate to Nizamabad from Zanzibar and has established this whole set of entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for being here with us today and taking our inspiration from you.
When I'm in degree final year, I'm worrying about my future. So I got information about DET. It is a skills development program. After completion of graduation or BTech, all the students are roaming on the road because they have subject knowledge but they don't have any practical knowledge. DET is a platform we can learn all the things practically. So in DET I learned effective communications and all the things, attending the speaker sections. Now I am doing job in logistics, coming as the accountant. And then coming to my startup yatra, I was selected top 3 from whole Telangana. Now government is ready to invest some money to develop my business. My business idea is related to eggshells. I want to prepare a nutrition for eggs. So this is my related to eggshells idea. Thank you for giving this opportunity to here speak. In my entire life, I never thought I will get this opportunity to speak here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we have lots of interesting, conversations to have today. India is in a very interesting, place today, as we all know. Right? I just want to put out some facts out there to get us kind of started. As a country, we have reduced extreme poverty by more than half in the last 20 years, which is a very big achievement. We are one of the countries that's actually reducing poverty at a rate much faster than anybody else in the world. And that's because of the ecosystem that's kind of coming up, in the country. The last 10 years has seen a big shift in the development sector ecosystem. First, we've had the traditional aid go away from India, and we've actually become, more philanthropic from a country within. Today, India's philanthropic sector is estimated to be, without the CSR, just private philanthropy is estimated to be about 36,000 crores. Okay. The introduction of the CSR law about 4-5 years ago has made a big difference, and we have some very interesting thoughts on that, and that itself has brought in additional, philanthropic capital of over 20,000 crores. We have a lot more talent coming into the sector. You will be very surprised to hear that the application to acceptance ratio of Gandhi Fellowship, which is a grassroots fellowship, is actually much higher than Harvard in India, than Harvard globally. Which means more young people want to be doing more meaningful work, and these are applications coming from the IITs, St. Stephen's and WITS. And that's the kind of shift that has happened in terms of the talent expectation. Technology has been a big driver for change in this sector as well. So today there is more non-profits interested in talking about blockchain and ERP. While there are still a lot of grassroots organizations, the progressive nature of the non-profits have kind of shifted. So the simple case is that this is the best time to be in the development sector in India. It doesn't get better than this. So whatever job you're in, outside of the sector, my advice is to quit and just jump into the sector immediately. The second thing is, the whole focus of ecosystem has been very important, in the sector, and the sandbox model has been extremely effective in
it's wonderful to see things like that shift to, to places like NIZAMABAD. What I think we really want to look at hence, given this context where India is and where the sector is, and where more and more sustainable models are emerging, more systemic changes happening, more governments are getting involved in development. I think putting our attention to the denominator is more important than putting our attention to the numerator. We all talk about we work with 10,000 children or we work with 5,000 women, but the more important thing is 10,000 out of what? We're talking about 200 million people, 300 million people, 50 million women. So I think focusing on the denominator is important, and hence reimagining the way development will happen is important. I come from the technology product world, and it's something that we learned very early, that to go from product 1.0 to 2.0, you can't go from 1.1 to 1.2 versions. You have to completely rethink, what or rebuild 2.0 from the learnings of your product 1.0. And I think that's the space we are in, and very aptly so, the topic of discussion is really to reimagine impact, not incrementally kind of go, but really rethink and reimagine, impact. So I will probably start with Vivek, first. Vivek, first of all, congratulations on your new role at the Deshpande Foundation. Vivek has many years of semiconductor experience, and very recently took over. He's been a neighbor of the Deshpande Foundation for a long time, but now he's kind of just crossed over and taken over the Deshpande Foundation. It would be great to hear from you on how at the foundation you all are now re-looking at the way impact has to be done, and I'm sure you have many, at least 10 years of learning behind as well. So it would be wonderful to hear your thoughts on that.
So before I tell you about reimagining impact, that is the phase 2.0 of the Deshpande Foundation, I'll give the background of phase 1.0, how did you do, and what made us start thinking about reimagining the impact. So Deshpande Foundation started 11 years back, or 10 years back, and the idea was help India transform in 4 sectors. One was agriculture, livelihood, skilling, and last one is health. And idea was 2-pronged strategy. First, create ecosystem where you get the partners who are working in those sectors in that sandbox, help them experiment the idea, experiment the solution, see the impact, and then scale it across India. And the second, parallelly we also kind of impact in that area and do this initiatives and experiments. So agriculture, we started with, can you do something for the farmers in terms of farm pots? And it came from discussion with farmers, and agriculture team took that and started doing thousands of farm pots. They created close to 400,000 farm pots in the last 3 years. That helped farmers have the multiplier income and also insurance against the bad rain, which was actually kind of creating debt trap for most of the farmers. Then came idea working with the BBC and helping them increase their prosperity by working hand-on, giving them the knowledge of the modern technology, modern fertilizers, pesticides, and how to reduce the input cost and increase the impact. And out of that discussion, the trust developed with the farmers, and a NPO was created, Farmer Produce Organization, where you can help farmers to look beyond just kind of input reduction or output reduction, but look at this whole as a collaborative approach of reducing the input cost by buying at the gross scale or the wholesale rate and selling at the wholesale rate. Instead of currently the farmers were having a problem, they buy at a retail and sell at the retail rate, which is kind of higher rate, and sell at wholesale rate that the input is reduced. Now, in the last 10 years, we impacted lakh farmers, 10,000, around 10,000 students, make them employable, and maybe 10,000 micro entrepreneurs. We are feeling good about it. Anybody visit the Deshpande Foundation, they got impressed, excited. We are also excited. And last year, they were discussing about introspecting and reflecting. We realized that India has 1.3 billion people, and top pyramid of India, top of the topmost economic pyramid, there are 200 million people who have disposable income. Now they have enough disposable income, so Ola, Oyo, Uber, Swiggy, Zomato, Amazon, all they are solving the problems of top 200 million people. So who are left without solution? What about 1.1 billion people who are in rural and semi-urban. And nobody is able to solve the problem, not because they don't want to, there is no money to make from it. So how do you look at that 1.1 billion people to solve the problem? And then the whole thing hit us. 1 lakh farmer or 10,000 students or maybe 1,000 entrepreneurs are negligible or minuscule compared to the impact you have cause of 1.1 billion. So you have to start thinking completely differently, not just 1.1, 2.0 Deshpande Foundation should not be just a variation of 1.0. It has to be dramatically differently thought. So we have to reimagine. It's not 1 lakh to the next 10 years, we can do 10 times, it is 10 lakhs. So in the next 10 years, we can do 100 times. That means you cannot do the way you were doing in last 10 years. And you have to do something dramatically different in technology, in people, in HR, in execution, in terms of R&D, in terms of partnership, collaboration. And this is where the thought came. We have to start thinking, reimagining completely differently, making plans.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There's a lot more thoughts coming to my head as you speak. And I really appreciate your opening remarks. And I think the learning that the Deshpande Foundation has and where you're able to now contribute to the ecosystem is very interesting to hear. So we will come back to you. Sir, from your perspective, coming from both the ecosystem of the tech industry and the government and your involvement in CSR, it'd be great to hear on how you have perceived the CSR law, at the same time how you're seeing the development sector and the social project that you do evolve, also in the boardrooms that you're now part of.
Thank you, Krishna. Good morning to all of you. At the outset, let me congratulate my good friends Raju and Fani for taking this initiative. Let's join our hands to congratulate both of them. Both Raju and Fani. Also, equally impressed with seeing what Kakya Sandbox has done. Amazing effort from those team of about 20 people. Let's again one more time join our hands to congratulate the youngsters. It was an amazing job. Without saying a single word, that's what was really impressive. Well, Krishna talked about how does the CSR law, etc. I just wanted to reiterate it by saying, much before the CSR law came in, we started CSR. Because our belief in life, the fundamental belief in my life, my company's life, is our foundation, which says there are 4 stakeholders who make companies successful. Not many people recognize this. There is very obvious, which is customer, who gives you all the time purchase orders and then followed by checks. There is the employee, who is willing to put effort and we get him to check at the end of the period, alright. And the third one is, of course, we cut the check and give you the money, what many people see, the investor. The 4th stakeholder, who people do not recognize, is the society. To us, they are like four pillars, and a company decides on the top of it. To build a sustainable, successful company, you need all those 4 pillars to be strong. So therefore, it is imperative for corporates to recognize that society plays an important role and make sure that you reward them too. That's the first fundamental advice we have. The second one, I believe, was focus on success. To us, these are synonymous of each other. Without focus, we will never succeed. So to CSR too, if you want to touch upon something, you have to have a focus. So because, very honestly, I keep describing this, if you look at the opportunities that you have in terms of going to the society and doing work for them, the whole wide world works. Because there is not really so much being done. What is being done to me is like specks of dust which are sticking onto that whiteboard. So you can pick and choose what you think you're passionate about. succeed. I'll come to what I've taken in a moment. The third one is that we said the tremendous amount of knowledge we have as a country, this knowledge has to go back into our responsibility towards society. And I think Sunny mentioned in this speech that he also talked about the rigor with which the foundation certainly implements more than men. I think that's a very good point that you made, Sunny, what you're doing with your foundation. That is, the rigor of what you do in the corporate go on these society initiatives too. What are you doing in the corporate? All of us measure to manage. You measure everything that can be measured. Once it is measured, it's compared. Once there is a deviation, you do a relative root cause analysis. You know what relative root cause analysis is? Thereafter you say, I have a strategy to fix it for one time so that it doesn't repeat any longer. But equally important is that what we also discovered was, yet another thing, is that not just you as a corporate leader who want to do this effort, there are also other of your associates who want to do it. So what we said, because that particular element probably can be given a name called volunteerism. That is something that is also extremely important and people have to recognize in the corporate world to ensure that you bring your employees, we call them associates in our company, into the mainstream to ensure that they participate. We now give 2 hours off every week to our employees if they went to any of our initiatives. So, if you probably do these 3 things, one is the fundamental belief that society plays an important role in your success. Focus brings success, so therefore focus on something. Bringing more amount of corporate processes as well as volunteerism, I think it becomes multi-fold. We then took one initiative, I'll just talk about, I got 3 of them, but I'll just talk about the first one, time we will talk about later. The first one we decided was, we said, what do we do? And I'm somehow, I come from a middle class background. My father was a police officer with 4 children. What did he give to us in our life to make us successful? To all the 4 of us, there's just one thing and only one thing, and I'm sure it's with many of the people around in this room. And that was education. Right? So therefore, so long as a parent who got a child educated, I think I've done a great job. I think we leave behind a tremendous amount of other people, they come to me and so on and so forth. But I feel very satisfied that I got my 2 children educated. So we said, there are people who don't have that particular, literally for lack of a better word, and say luxury of life. So we said, let's go and touch these schools and see how the schools are like. And amazing were the results we saw. You don't need to come to NIZAMABAD. Finally, I'm sure NIZAMABAD is right. NIZAMABAD, Funny and Raju are here. You go to Dachikali, you go to State, there are normal schools which are all below the poverty line. We walked into the school. I personally did. This was 15 years back. And something very striking came up. And what was this? The girl child population in the class. A class had 40 to 45 children. There were no more than 5 children in the 5 girl children in the classroom. We went back to do this relentless root cause analysis, RRCA is called, asked why 5 times, to say, why is the girl child population so poor? And the answer was that the taps in the washroom are stolen, there is no more water in the washroom, they can't be used. So my little girl child, once she understands what is privacy, unless that home is close by, she has only one choice to make. And what's the choice? She stops going to school, period. Unless, as I said, the home is close by. Then we said, why do these taps get stolen? There is nothing called security, the watchman doesn't stay there, there's no compound walls of the school. So we said, let's start doing this, build the compound wall, put back taps, and see what happens. What we saw is that from a situation which was 10 to 15% girl child, we now have 26 schools under our management, 26 garments Canara management. And we probably service today, we service about 30,000 children a year. And girl child population, that's 52%. So therefore, the point that I made is, you need to take these systems on what did we do when we took religious Buddha analysis back to the schools. And so then the point is further, we brought focused education. We did a number of interventions. And then reimagining the impact part, because I'll finish off on that and then come back to it. I didn't call it impact, I like to call it as outcomes. Because much before even this word on impact became so popular around, people like us said, we do it, every naya paisa I spend in my company, I measure what's the outcome of it. People come and talk to me about spending $6 million on the upgrade to HANA. I have no problem. I keep asking them this question, what's the outcome thereafter? What do I get in return? So similar in this case to here, we are going to spend some money, what's the outcome like? So we said 3 outcomes our people said will make sure that happens. One is what I mentioned, girl child population. The second one is, they said pass percentage. And for pass percentage improvement, they said these are 1, 2, 3, 4 actions. I don't know how many of you are aware, 34% of time of our teachers in government schools, 34% of time of teachers in government schools are spent, I have evidence of it, spent on non-teaching activities. So therefore, the good teacher in the class, obviously yes, the pass percentages will fall. Then the intervention associated with it, say, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan scheme, and we now have pass percentages went down. We went to the third outcome that we measured, is about dropouts. We went back and said, this dropouts are like an attrition in the BPO companies, 20%, 30%. So we said, why is this dropout so high? And the reason is, something which is very fundamental came to us. And that was, if a lower class, upper lower class mother who actually goes on the daily wages, if she has to send her child to the school, she has to wake up an hour ahead of time in the morning because she has to prepare the meal for the child. As opposed to that, if she doesn't send the child to the school, she takes the child along with her to the place of work. In the afternoon, with the little money she has, which is 20 rupees or 10 rupees with her, she goes and buys something from the push cart and allows the child to eat most of it. So that she doesn't have that responsibility to cook any longer. So that's when we started. This is 15 years back we started midday meal scheme. And there are a number of initiatives, A, B, C, D, came. And the end result is, we now have very small number of dropouts that happen from class to class. I'll stop there. That's the impact measure.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks to both of you. From Mr. Reddy, I pick up, 2-3 key points that he kind of brought up. Right? The first one is the importance of focus, in this sector is very important because unlike, when we work in the private world, you have resources, you're a little more structured, you're a little more in control. But when you start working with the panchayat or on the field with the government and so many stakeholders, you may very, very easily get distracted. But keeping your focus on what problem you're solving becomes very, very critical to actually keep going in that direction. The second point that, very, very important thing that you mentioned is the focus on outcome. This sector, for a very long time, including the World Bank, the UN, has been an input-driven sector. Everybody will tell you how much money they spend in charity or philanthropy. There's a lot of talk about how much aid goes into Africa. But talking about outcome, what happened out of that is very, very important. Unless you shift the conversation to outcome, it's very difficult to kind of actually go out and reimagine how impact, can be done. And then, finally going into the root cause of a problem, finding the right problem. Education, girl child, we don't stop there. Going into the analysis of actually what the problem is and trying to find a solution for that becomes very important. Otherwise, me and Vivek over breakfast were discussing many examples of where really good institutions have tried to solve problems in poverty, where they've understood the problem only a little bit and invested a lot in solving them and putting a lot of resources, but most of those technology solutions have landed up in the shelf because we really didn't get the context of what the actual problem was. Pulling out, from examples of sir, he talked about 29 schools, where they've done some great work. India has 1.5 million government schools doing. So how do we take these 29 good schools and many such schools that you're working with, and then apply it at a 1.5 million school level? And can you share some examples of how you're now able to do more systemic change?
So what we did initially, we look at last 10 years, from 25 students making them employees who could not even speak Kannada, learning to speak English, computer, and having some skill to deliver to the corporate, and who will not get even 3,000 rupees for a job after graduation. Now they are getting salaries of 10,000, 12,000 to up to 20,000. And with 25 students to 2,500 plus. 100x in fact. So we are very proud of it, saying happy about it, right? Then we realize 1,500 is in the school compared to the problem there. And then we were talking to one of the farmers group, and one of our agriculture team was kind of a student from the same village who has gone through the British Party Foundation Leadership Program, and he was entering some kind of computer, some kind of app on the mobile phone. And farmer said, hey, why can't you kind of teach our students, our kids in the village? Now we could have done the same thing what we have learned in last 10 years, but we said it's not going to work out. So they say we have to go into village, and we started thinking about having our own place there in the village where students can come after the school and get learning on English communication, confidence building, computer skills. And suddenly we said we are doing the same thing what we have done in last 10 years. We have to do differently. So we said, can we go into the school? And the problem with school is that they say if you come to school, it should be free. If it is free, students don't value, parents don't value, and we have seen in last 10 years, anything you do free, not sustainable and not scalable. So we said, how do we get the money and still work within the school? Because government schools will not allow you to teach in the school by taking the money. So then we said, okay, farmers, can you go Gram Panchayat request us? Then we go. So because our agri team has done a wonderful job, which I will tell a story next story after this. We got letter from Gram Panchayat saying that you come to our school. We normally charge 100 rupees per student. And we started teaching them English in the school before and after school hours. The teacher said, before school hours, students don't come at 10 o'clock. 50% of them are not there at 10 o'clock. They come at 11 o'clock, 11:30. How will they come at 7 o'clock in the morning? And we started the school. Within 1 week, we could actually get 100% students coming at 7 o'clock dot and doing it. 1 month later, they learn how to speak English. As soon as they learn how to speak English, their confidence shot through the roof. Some of these aspirations in India, right? Computer knowledge and English, you think you are the king, right? But that's great. But that aspiration and the confidence went so high through the roof that they started doing wonderfully different subjects, good communication, good confidence, working in all areas, and farmers started coming and saying, okay, there's amazing things happening. So I think that's enough. So 500 students we did last year. This year we said let's double it, 1,000 students. Now next year, with the support of agri team, we are planning 10,000 students. So in 2 years, 100 maybe to 10,000, whereas it took us 10 years to get 2,500 students in the residential model. So what makes difference is that how do you transform thinking about skilling in a different way? So going existing infrastructure should be used, aggregate the existing infrastructure, use the existing resources, collaboration and trust that you have developed, and we using technology now, how to use technology for teaching our students teachers so that they can actually learn technology. So I think that's going to farmers. So this is a transformation. So 10,000 students we are going to do next year, and definitely majority also will be Telangana here, in Kannada, Siddipet and all these things. On the farmer side, that is a great learning for us also. We started working with farmers, we talked about picking the farm bonds, and as soon as farm bond was created, our belief is that in that area where there are hundreds of farm bonds created, the debt trap for the farmers reduced because if rain is not there, farmers are able to use the water and save the crop, debt trap is not there, and that definitely reduces the suicide rates. I can't give the data, we have to give the data, but we felt that it is dramatically less in the area area where the farmers are there. That was great impact and great success. Once that happened, the farmers were entrepreneurial. They started saying, hey, I have a water now. If rain is there, I can use this water for additional crops, doubling the income. Some farmers, we talk to one farmer now, regularly, he is our leader, ambassador, and he also is our teacher. He says, I have a plan. I have some things for daily income, so I use some kind of cash crops. I have something for monthly income, I have some kind of other crops, and which I have something for the quarterly income. So he has actually used this farm bond to plan his farm like a corporate sector efficiency, learning with our one kind of farm facilitators, like someone talking about, bringing the efficiency of corporate into the society. Once that happened, the farmers started saying, if we have a problem in terms of buying the fertilizers and all that and selling them. We created a farmer producer organization, which actually kind of helps them buy at bulk, the cost reduces by 20-30%. They sell, actually kind of bypassing the middleman, increase 20-30% higher kind of pricing. The overall impact has been more than 40-50% on an average for the farmers. That is a transformation. But now, how do you go from 40,000 farmers to now 1.5 lakh farmers? 3 times. 10 to 100 is okay, 100 to 1000 is okay, 1000 to 100,000 is okay. But now, every 500 farmers have one employee who talks to the farmer and connects to them. How to train them? So, reimagining impact. So, we work with a company called Mouse Technologies. They have a micro learning app. So, it gives you 2 minutes of video, and after video is done, it will give you questions on the mobile phone, 5 questions with an understanding of concept there or not. So, we are deploying already started working in the sandbox, and they deployed with hundreds of our field facilitators, farm facilitators, who are going to teach them to farmers. We'll get to know whether knowledge is coming from technology to technology going to the farm facilitator now. Next challenge is, out of the farmers we have, 20% of them are smartphones. So now we are seeing we can convert that technology into kind of a language, local language. So those farmers can actually say whether they have understood what we are all major transferred on. How to do a proper better control schedule, what fertilizer to use, what not to use, how to take the soil report and decide which fertilizer to use, how to do the pesticide at what time so that the pest resistance is not there. All these knowledge we are going to test through technology. But that's not good enough. How do we ensure that the output produced, the technology is not to them to get their outcome properly? So we are looking at the chili. The chili, they will dry the chili, they keep it for 15 days. If some rain happens, something happens, the 50% produce is gone. So can you dry the chilies in 2 days, less than 1 day, 2 days, so that the produce is better, color is better. Now there is a Stanford research scientist who had done a solar chili dry. But will that work? We had an experience of 10 years back, 5 years back. MIT student came, he created we came to the villages, did a survey, and he found out that 80% of the children who are born, pre-born, basically kind of they die because of incubator, lack of incubators. So he said, I'm going to create an incubator which is lowest cost, and that will transform the death rate, easily impacting. Created a baby warmer with 6,500 rupees. But as we were talking about that, found the problem, solved it, but forgot the context. My baby warmer came in, but the problem was not baby warmer. The problem was somebody has to tell the father, parents, take the baby to the incubator because this is kind of a premature baby. He'll die if it's not taken to incubator. Then somebody has to buy this baby warmers to primary health center, government contract, government kind of a scheme, and make sure that all the primary health centers are equipped with the baby warmers and the support. Now, if these two are not there, baby warmer is kind of sitting on the shelf. So this dry chili is sitting on the shelf if you don't do something. So we started saying we need to have a research for agriculture impact, and we need to have people who can understand the knowledge of the R&D from the Stanford MIT, implement at ground level, and then pass on to the entrepreneurs. So we have implemented this in Bellary district as a chili drying project, which will reduce the drying within 2 days, less than 2 days, sometimes 1 day. Low wastage with the proper air flow, proper temperature, color will be good, the output value cost is good, and And now we are finding the entrepreneurs to take over the project, implement it in the Indian circumstances. So next 1 year later, the MIT transfer guys come. They know the problems, next level problems they have to solve, but this will be actually productized, implemented at ground level. So you will start from technology, people training, tracking, execution, all has to be reimagined and transformed.
Brilliant. Vivek, thank you so much. I think there are two very important lessons I want to pick out from what Vivek just explained, right? And one for the people in the non-profit space, and one for the people who are entering the social enterprise space. He said, don't give anything for free. Very important. The charitable approach, should kind of be the direction we go. But more importantly, beyond product engineering, there's also social engineering. We need to change behavior, and that's actually the more important and more difficult, aspect. So, in the interest of time, we will just open up for a few questions, from the audience, to our panelists. Before we get there, I have 3 questions for the audience, and let's see how well people. Nizamabad. Is the literacy rate of Nizamabad higher or lower than average in India? Higher. It's about 12% lower. The Human Development Index growth rate is higher or lower in terms of growth rate from India? Higher. Right? You're growing faster, which means Nizamabad is developing faster compared to the rest of India. And more importantly, another data point, which is some work that we all have to do, as per the Ministry of Corporate Affairs data, only 30 lakhs of CSR money has come into Nizamabad over the last 2 years, compared to about 10 crores into Hubli Dharwad region. So this is the way to reimagine, what we should do, how we should kind of focus. Again, in interest of time, quick questions. Anybody from the audience has anything for the panelists here to ask? There's some special prize I'm told for the best question. Like Karan John says, we'll get an audio or something.
All your efforts are increasing the production. We really appreciate what you're doing. But is there any consideration, considering that in the recent past, a lot of produce that has been made by the farmer, generated by the farmer, has gone waste? As an example, so many products that have come. They are not even able to harvest the produce because there is no market. And there is no storage facility also that is being there. Anything that you are working on towards that line for marketing and storage?
Wonderful question.
If you keep it brief, we just
the biggest problem is not storage also, because I was talking to one of the farmers. They said, if you give a storage facility, what do you do? Why don't you use it? He said that I have to pay some rental for the storage, and after 3 months I am not sure the cost will go up. I might end up with actually kind of losing more money. Whatever I price it, I am not selling it. So what we are doing is, there is a farmer produce organization we have created, My Outlet. And what we are doing is collecting all the produce from there and selling it at the next level, basically at a kind of aggregate level. So that is getting them 20-30% higher also. But second thing we are looking at now is that, but every FPO is not going to be able to connect to the market and make the linkages better. So we are creating a new model, a prototype this year, with 10 FPOs, with one of them, of the past 5 FPOs we have doing wonderfully well in terms of governance, execution, and kind of tracking, making them as a tech-safe FPO. And we have got actually kind of one person from the non-profit kind of industry who was buying hundreds of quintals, thousands of quintals of grains. We have got even this party foundation now, actually in Hyderabad. We'll be working with the Kakadiya sandbox. And his job will be to get kind of thousands of quintals of green gram, black gram, all that kind of getting into the market at a very, very reasonable, good pricing, good market, and then deliver it. Once we go to kind of 10,000 of quintals, we'll be able to touch future groups and other organizations who are asking for bigger numbers. So that to reach will take another kind of 20-30 FPOs are done. I think we'll be able to reach that number and make it also.
Thank you very much. One last question. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I think again, my question is honest to the panel. It's been great since the morning, just listening to all the wonderful work that's happening in the sandbox. One question here, so you mentioned about government schools, and just the question again around the fact that what can be done to have sort of better marketing or better sort of it's either happening in a private effort or a corporate effort. What do you feel about? Is there a complete disconnect between sort of what the government is trying to do and what's sort of happening on the ground? What do you think?
So you want to try to take that?
I think good question. It's an important question that all of us have to address, because if the government is pouring money into the black hole without knowing what the outcomes are. We talk about outcomes, we talk about impact. They never measure them. So therefore the end result is that it's one-way street. The government spends money, don't care about what's going to happen there. So the end result is we don't have any outcomes at this point of time. Slowly but steadily, don't question anybody about what he or he is responsible for. It becomes an entitlement thereafter. Teacher thinks that he doesn't get paid for teaching. He gets paid because he's a teacher. To the level that the shell shock, I know instances where teachers outsource their work. So which obviously means that the teacher does not come to school any longer, but he has got a deputy who takes about 70% or 60% of salary. He comes to the school to do his work. So therefore, I think the key issue here is making sure people are accountable. That's what I think the private sector has proven. Because all of us in the corporate world, we are responsible for our shareholders. We are responsible for everybody who thinks it's that particular time to me. I keep saying it's not my company any longer. I'm a custodian of public money. So that's what I think the attitude should be, even in the schools, the agriculture, the healthcare. You can name them, whether it's sanitation, every place. I think once we get, and that change is not limited to a politician. It's not limited to a bureaucrat. It's a society which has to bring about the change. And that is, therefore, I think one way of starting that up, and I'm working very hard at it, is bring about some amount of private-public partnership. You're spending 100 crores. I'll put my 20 crores if you want. I'll account for the 120 crores for the last Naya Paisa for sure. Let's do it together. So those are the ones, and I don't think that that's not my business. My business is to run an engineering services company. So these are the ones which I at the same time care for the society. If we all of us can work towards this particular goal, to make sure government gets more accountable and make sure that the outcomes are being measured, then I think we'll have a greater outcome for the money being spent.
Absolutely. Okay. So
I'll just add to that one. So it's got most of the NGOs who are working at the ground level wanting to make an impact. It's difficult for them to reach to the government schemes and government. So many of them reach government are thinking of just taking the money and doing some effort on the ground level. No, not reaching to the government. This Foundation has many 10-15 NGOs I know, they decided that if you want to work, make impact, the go faster way, you can't work with government. And this is what government last 10 years were doing. But the data is that up to 1 lakh, you can impact by just sheer work, effort and passion. Beyond 1 lakh, you need systems and processes. If you don't have systems and processes, you taper out less than that. With systems and processes, you can go to 10 lakhs. Beyond that, you need government. So we are realizing, so reimagining impact and saying that we are now 1 lakh farmer. Up to 10 lakhs, we go with our energy. But 10 to 20%, we'll start working with government. So when we go to 10 lakhs, we'll be ready how to work with government, how not to work that, make that work, and we'll be ready in the next few years that we can go beyond 10 lakhs with government. So we, and I will show you all the partners I'm working with, I'm going to say, stop thinking that we'll do without government. If you have to impact India, you have to partner, understand government, understand channel, understand processes, and make that impact. That change we are doing, I'm sure others will also do.
absolutely, absolutely. So basically the key message from this entire panel is the following. Development requires you to boil the ocean, so don't be afraid to boil the ocean. We have to boil the ocean to actually get a country like India to move to the next level. So thank you so much for your thoughts, and big round of applause to both of them. And thanks to the Sandbox for having us here.
Thank you very much. Which is going on in parallel at the same venue where 300 plus farmers are interacting with each other. The next panel is a very interesting keynote panel on reimagining partnerships by Mr. Raju Reddy, the founding patron of Kakatiya Sandbox. I invite Mr. Raju Reddy and Mr. Firoz Mohammed, one of the panelists, who is an Executive Vice President, Hitachi Consulting, Mr. Sudhir Rao, Managing Director, India, Bombardier Transportation, and Mr. Ramji Raghavan, Founder and Chairman of Agastya International Foundation, to come on to the stage.
Everybody, thank you so much once again. I know funny, truly how excited we are that you took the time to join us here in Nizamabad. It really means a lot that several of you, of course, from out of town, some from out of the country also. And thank you once again. We are such a fantastic panel here. I think I'm going to do a lot less talking and let them kind of share their thoughts, and hopefully we get a few questions. I know I'm being told what we're running about half hour event schedule. Monica?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Let's see if we can save a little bit of time on that. But this panel here with Firoz and Sudhir representing two of the largest and kind of most respected companies in their industries or across all industries for the matter globally. And both of them truly are the pride of Telangana. Both are from Telangana, and they are the CEOs of these companies here. And Ramji Raghavan, many of you already know about Agastya, the work that they've been doing here. He's a founder chairman for that. Even if you're doing an event in Delhi or for the matter in Silicon Valley. So I'm truly thankful to each of you for making the time to join us this morning. So what I wanted to do before I get into our topic is sort of reimagine partnerships. We can also hear from the earlier session. But I think it would be helpful just to sort of go around and each of you share a few words about kind of your own background. I really want the audience to get a feel for kind of your background and a little bit about obviously what you do now and the mission for your company. Do you want to start?
Thanks, Raju. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm from Telangana. My mother's from Warangal district. My father's from NIZAMABAD district. And I've grown up in villages a lot. So I would say till the age of 13 or 14, virtually every holiday was spent in small villages, either my father's or my mother's side. And there's a strong connect that I feel to literally the soil of the country. I've been fortunate in the sense from a background perspective to have gone to a boarding school, then to Pilani, where Raju and I were classmates, and then the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And my dream was to work in a global company that had manufacturing at its roots, that had a customer connect. And I joined what was, and I would never do this again. If I had to redo my life, I did the same thing. Joined General Motors Corporation in Detroit in 1985. And I was with GM for 20 years, living across, working across America, Europe, Asia. And finally in 2005, I decided to come back to India. The pull of the motherland, if you will, drew me back. And I've since worked about 5 years in Delhi, 5 years in Bombay, and 2 years in Madras. So I've seen a lot of the world, I've seen a lot of the country. And I'm at a stage of life now, I'm 59, and I'm at a stage now where I'd like to give back to society in a way. Maybe I'll work for another 3 or 4 years. And at that point, I'd love to be able to do something back. I consider myself very, very lucky. Somehow I would be a tiny, very unhappy man if I didn't give something back to society at a significant level from an effort perspective. And that's what brings me here. From a partnership perspective, I think the work is very, very inspirational. And to me, partnerships are about how do you get inspired from your heart by something that you feel strongly about, and then make something happen with it and help the people who are actually doing the work. I mean, that's sort of, in this context, the definition of partnership.
Thank you, Sudhir. So Firoz, probably some of you are quite familiar. He's been just a phenomenal supporter of the sandbox pretty much from inception. And by the way, I know Krishna had the numbers about 30 lakhs CSR. I'll actually challenge him on that number because I think we got more than that just from Hitachi alone. So, but wherever it is, we still got a long way to go on CSR. But Firoz has also been hosting our lead Prayana and other folks. I'll get into a little later. Firoz, please.
Thank you, Raju. And first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be invited to like this. And I've been here before associated with Sandbox. I think that the learning is for us. And while we talk about all the advantages that Sandbox gets, but I also need to tell you guys, I think it's personally so gratifying to see something like this happening at the ground level. So really happy to be associated with this in any form. So giving a quick introduction, so I hail from a small middle class family. Dad used to work in the railways, he's retired now, and a very small railway township is where he grew up. And as the previous panelist said, so parents work very hard. Mom used to work in a school, primary school. Parents work very hard, and the only thing that they gave us was education. And so truly said the previous panelist, it's extremely important. Good education and good value systems. I think these are the two things that we benefited. And that really shaped me up as an individual as an individual. So after that, I think higher studies brought me to Hyderabad, did my master's, and then went on to join a small startup, which happened to be earlier CMC R&D. Worked for a couple of years, and then joined a small startup that happened to be Raju's startup. And I've grown along with the company, and then eventually got acquired by Hitachi Consulting. So it's been an interesting journey over the period of time. Work has taken me to different parts of the world. I've seen a lot of countries, a lot of businesses. So it's been a good learning journey through this period. So right now I work for Hitachi Consulting. It's a part of the mothership Hitachi Limited. And you would have heard about Hitachi Limited as a company that is in various businesses. We do nuclear power plants, we do locomotives, the so-called bullet train that you would have heard about Shinkansen, that's what we Hitachi. We do medical equipment, we do various things. It's a $100 million company, pretty much touching all parts of the products and society. We are the third largest patent holder in the world. We do phenomenal stuff on both products as well as the software side. The reason I'm mentioning this is a company of this size is beginning to think about how do we stay relevant for the next few decades. And one thing that we have come to realize is that for a company of this size to be relevant and thrive in the future, we would have to start solving very large societal problems. And so we are redefining our company, we are redefining our business model as what we call as a social innovation business. And that kind of relates very well to the topic today. So that our company is looking at next few decades, start trying to solve very large societal problems like resources, water, energy, urbanization, public safety. So things that would actually impact the society in a big way. And how do we actually make a profitable business out of it? I know we talked about CSR quite a bit, but we have come to believe that CSR is only one aspect of it. For actually driving a sustainable change, you need to be creating social value in the business model itself. Not all profits are equal. I think we truly believe that the highest form of capitalism is to do business that impacts society, and that creates a more sustainable change in the society. And relating it back to the need for partnerships, I think even as a company, $100 million company, we have realized that the new business models where people expect everything to be delivered as a service, the only way we can solve these very large societal problems is that we need a consortium of partners to be able to solve it. I mean, we may still be the largest constituent of the consortium, but we need to work with governments, we need to work with startups, we need to work with other companies that have solutions that we're able to kind of bring together and stitch together to solve these very large, complex societal problems. So I think this is the new world order, how the world is going to change. We require a very different approach on how businesses operate, how societies operate, and I think it's kind of very topical what we have today here. We have to figure out a way to kind of work together to solve these very large societal problems. As enterprises, you need to figure out how to make money while solving these societal problems. I think as NGOs, as bodies that are working, contributing to society, they need to figure out how to operate with the governments, with the enterprises to solve this problem. So with that, I hand it over to next time.
That's a great point, sir. Just one thing I wanted to say over the last 5 years, Pani talked about kind of our own learning through the sandbox. One of the things that sort of I've come to understand is a lot of the success in building a strong ecosystem like this depends on building positive, relevant role models at the micro level, right, in the villages and all of that. And so Firoz, when he was here about first time, what, 4 years ago, just about first year of the sandbox sharing, he met with one of the students from our program called LEAD. You might have seen those blue shirts, that's all the LEAD students, and some of you may get a chance to interact with them. So one of those students, his name is Satya Maninder, he couldn't be here today because he's working at a company, he couldn't get time off. But anyway, Satya Maninder was so inspired by what Firoz shared that day, and then Firoz was very generous to mentor him for quite some time. And Satya Maninder later on, through the LEAD program, he built some projects and he won a leadership award from Kailash Satyarthi, the Nobel Prize winner. And later on, he went through 4 rounds of interview at Amazon and got into Amazon. And this is a boy who grew up with a single parent, his mom, because his dad was a police constable, passed away when Satya was about 5-year-old. I'm just sharing this story so you have a perspective of kind of what really works, at least some elements, right? So 4 rounds of interview, he got into Amazon, then he was managing a team of 20-25 people, and after 3 years now, he's got a much bigger offer, I think, in Uber, and it doesn't stop there. Satya Maninder, over the last year and a half, has been mentoring over 100 different students. Now, these are all 100 people from the villages who can relate to Satya Maninder. A lot more can they relate to me or even Maninder Sama, right? In some ways, because they come from those villages. So I just want you guys to know, those of you who are here from out of town, much like what Firoz has done, that has now had a big multiplier effect. So thank you, Firoz. Give him a big hand for that. One aspect of the sandbox development, and I can of course keep talking all day, but I thought I should share. So Ramji, you have now favorite son of Ram Settley. My dad is a big fan of you, and you've made a remarkable impact in our town and the district. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Raju. I'm also a big fan of your dad and you. I grew up in what is today called Jharkhand. There was an explosives factory that my father built. And he sent me to boarding school to the other end of India, to Rishi Valley, in Madanapalli in Andhra Pradesh. Because he was a student of Rishi Valley and he was a great admirer of ginger fish food. So I went to Rishi Valley at the age of 5 and graduated at 16. And I guess Gomia and Jharkhand and Rishi Valley had a couple of things in common. They were off the beaten track, they were very close to nature, and they're surrounded by villages. So that's how I grew up. In fact, I have to say my father had a social vision long before it became fashionable. Gomia grew into a township that really helped a lot of the villages around. So we would go for picnics, or I'd go on weekends with my father, and he was a member of the Lions Club, and they would build wells and all sorts of things. So I guess unconsciously I was influenced by that kind of work. But then my father rose and became the managing director of a company called ICI, British company, and then chairman of Engineers India, and he had in Paris, so I wanted to be like him. So after I finished school, I went to Delhi University and then the London Business School, and my goal was to become the CEO of a company, like my eminent colleagues sitting here on the panel. That was my dream. And it was very competitive. I went to New York, I worked for Citibank for many years. went out for dinner to a Chinese restaurant in a place called Puerto Rico in the Caribbean. And we were sitting there at a table like this, right near the entrance. And suddenly there was a hush in the restaurant, because a guy had walked in with a gun. And he pointed his gun at me and Larry, because we were closest to him. And he asked everyone to empty their wallets and all the ladies to hand over their chains. And, you know, it was kind of just astonishing. And the women began to weep. Larry dived to the floor, he overturned the table. And it was shocking, and then I just sat down on the floor, and this guy began to scream at everyone in the restaurant. He said, "If anyone looks at me, I will shoot these two guys first." And I remember thinking, I must have been about 27, that the bullet is going to hit me here at the nape of my neck. And the only thing I could think about was my mother. It wasn't all the presentations I made at Citibank, or even how much money I had in the bank, which wasn't a lot at that time. I was thinking, my parents were then in Madras, I was going to stand up and tell this guy, "Look, I have nothing against you. I'm from a country called India. You probably hadn't heard of India. And you want to send me back in a casket to my mother." Anyway, I'm still there alive, because he sort of suddenly took the bag that he had brought, filled with jewelry and wallets, and disappeared. I say this because many years later, when I was working in London, I kept thinking about, you know, Sudhir was talking about the meaning of life, or what is the purpose of life. And that's all that Jiddu Krishnamurti used to talk about when he came to Rishi Valley. So I began to think more deeply about it. And I had a dream when I was a kid in Rishi Valley of living in the Himalayas and building a school that would foster creativity. That was my dream, rather like the school we saw last night. I thought the Himalayas would be a good place to build a school. So that, combined with the sort of Krishnamurti thinking, my own background, I took a sort of deathbed view of life. Somebody said about not having any regrets. And I said, imagine you're dying. What would you think about it? It's a tough thought experiment. And I can't say, you know, I did it perfectly, but the work did not seem to matter very much. Not all the presentations and rushing work and all that did not figure at all. So I kind of told myself, look, maybe for me, this is all nothing. It's nothing. So I have to find something else that I shouldn't regret. And then this project at school, I kind of said, let's go and make it happen. So I came back to India, and to cut a long story short, started Agastya Foundation. I was very fortunate to have some really smart people help me with their thinking and ideas. And today, we do have a beautiful campus. It is like Shangri-La, but it's not the Himalayas. It's in Kuppam in Andhra Pradesh. Raju has been there, Funny has been there, a few others have been there. And we have an outreach program. We reach over 2 million children a year through mobile science vans. There's one, I believe, that's parked out here, so you can have a look at it, Sudhir. Labs on motorbikes, for which we won the Google Global Impact Award a few years ago. Hundreds, maybe 100 science centers, which we have here in Nizamabad, Kamareddy, in Mancherial, and in another place, Sirsila. So we started work here thanks to the Deshpande Foundation, thanks to Raju, and then when we meet Raju and his father, they introduced us to people in Kamareddy. Broadcom supported our program in Kamareddy, and then the collector at Sirsila, and then from Sirsila the van was transferred to another district, Khammam. So starting in Nizamabad, we went to Kamareddy, Sirsila, Mancherial, and Khammam. And the partnership has been magic, because Raju's father, his heart is in this project. So you have a ready-made champion for whatever you do, and that makes a huge difference. because none of us can achieve everything on our own. We need help, we need people, we need networks. And when somebody else takes as much or even more interest in what you're doing and helps to promote your work, that makes a huge, huge difference. So that's where we are today in Agastya. We're around 1,300 full-time people, 600 part-time people. And the good news is we've scaled as an NGO. But as I see it, it's still not even a tenth of the original vision, which is how do we convert Agastya the NGO into Agastya the NGM. Move from an organization to a movement. Have a 10x or a 100x impact. And that's the challenge for us today. Thank you.
Well, I've known Ramesh for quite some time, and in fact I've actually done a few panels like this with him, mostly in Silicon Valley. But I didn't know about this side of this story about the one in the bar or where we are at the restaurant. It's wonderful, yeah. So anyway, so you know what? I'll just have one question and then open it up to the audience. Steve, the last panel talked quite a bit about sort of how do we scale, how do we take this from, I think Vivek was talking about, you know, 1 lakh farmers to 10 lakh, 1 crore, and sort of the way we think about the sandbox ecosystem is, or at least the way Panna and we talked about, each of these ecosystems touches roughly, we pick a closely geography, roughly about 10 million population, or 1 crore, right? 10 million, sorry. So if we have 20 such ecosystems, that's 200 million people, that's about 25% of India's total population for a period of time. But clearly, for us to succeed and actually get to those 10 million people, we need partners, first of all, world-class organizations to Agastya. Let me tell you guys, Ramji is very modest, we didn't talk about it, but actually even people in California now want to, emulate what Agastya is doing. Right? This is truly world-class. Sometimes we don't quite understand and appreciate the high quality of, India has of course produced some great companies on the corporate side, but in the not-profit world, there are extraordinary organizations that have come out of India, and Agastya will be one of the sort of prime examples. But so the point is, how do we scale this now? We talk about government, what's the role of corporations, any thoughts on that, more from the standpoint of the sandbox ecosystem, what can we do to strengthen these partnerships and then scale back?
I think one of the things, I've worked in India for 4 different companies, and I think the constraint that you have at Kakatiya Sandbox is the areas that you're in. Very often the companies will say, I do want to do CSR, but it has to be in the areas that I'm present. I have a factory, I have some presence there. That is where I'm going to do my CSR, for obvious reasons. So I think the challenge for Kakatiya Sandbox is going to be, how do you overcome that? Because to the best of my knowledge, there are still no large companies operating the districts that we're talking about. And I think what this gathering teaches me is to reach out to the diaspora of the people who are from these districts, and how do you convince the companies you're associated with to give at least a little bit to these places. And the logic to me at least is very powerful, because many of these companies are operating in markets, ecosystems, which have plenty of other sources of funds. Whereas to bring money to these kinds of places, and not just money, because I don't think that's the only ingredient, it is the knowledge, the passion, and the boots on the ground to be able to carry forward programs. I think that is where, in this context, again, the partnership can play a role. And it's again about education. So for example, right now what I'm thinking, our family has converted, in my mother's side, the family home has been converted to a school in a place called Kavera. And since then they've expanded to 2 other places around there, to different 2 villages just around like an ambassador. This is with the name Rural RDF Development Foundation. I think it's what it goes by. And my cousin's very, very passionate and she knows about it very well. So that obviously one of the things I'm taking away as a to-do is how do I help this initiative go off into this manner. So I think these kinds of partnerships you have to use the diaspora. And I for one, having come here and finally, after 3 years of trying, very, very inspiring. And I would feel terribly guilty if I wasn't able to help take this thing beyond where your current geographic boundaries are. And one idea, if I may, that I'd like to leave with, like I said, we've been fortunate. I lived in Baroda for about 4 years, and I used to really, really work very hard, go in the morning at 7 o'clock, come back home at 9:30, hardly saw my children. And I guess I'm proud when I get at a certain level and embarrassed. But it is actually our driver who pretty much gave that main influence to my son, who became a very good sportsman and had a lot of enthusiasm for sports and all those kinds of things. Same thing I have at home here. I have people at home who are our staff, very, very talented. How do you create opportunities? How do you give that little bit of education that maybe 6 months or whatever it takes to be able to skill these people so that they can then go and do meaningful jobs and not work at home? That's a puzzle that I've not been able to sort out. So I'd also like to then use this forum to that challenge with you all as to how we can help people of this nature in society.
Alright, I think we should check out the Impact Showcase in the afternoon, and I'd love to talk to you about that specific one after. Thanks. Firoz?
Yeah, to your question, how do you scale this to the next level? I know the previous time I also talked about how do you do the 10x kinds of impact model. The way I see this is both government and enterprises, both of them can amplify this, help amplify this manifold. Government obviously has a duty to amplify it, and it kind of seeks for opportunities that it should do. Same goes for enterprises, and I'll go back to the earlier point, while I think a lot of the talk has been about CSR of enterprises, and that's relevant. But the true amplification is going to come if instead of CSR, we start talking about how do we enable the CSV, how do we enable creation of social value. That's the new cause a lot of these enterprises are looking at. A lot of the enterprises which want to exist for the next 50, 100 years are looking at creating business models around the sustainable development goals. As you know, UN has listed about 17 sustainable development goals. And a lot of the enterprises are trying to figure out how do we create business models that create value to the society, yet at the same time are viable, profitable models. I think we need to tap into that, be it in the form of education, be it in the form of healthcare. How do we tap into models which will allow enterprises to actually make money and at the same time create social value? Giving certain examples, right? I think talking from Hitachi's standpoint, we work in areas of population health. And we work with a lot of small transitioning heroes, with new startups and all this stuff, to have use technology to have population health, which can address very large populations of society. And we work with the governments as well. And there's money for us in that as well. And that's when it becomes sustainable. How do you make a profitable enterprise and that impacts society? Likewise, even on the education side. In India, Hitachi has now started a joint venture called Hitachi GRM, and this is around the scale of education. So we now have all the Indian vidyalaya's on this platform. We have a lot of state governments and schools which are coming on this platform, and there's a lot of analytics that goes behind this platform, which allows us to provide the right intervention as to why certain students are not performing well, what needs to be done. And how do we coach the parents, how do we coach the technical system to create more education at the primary level in the organization. And as an enterprise, the reason why we are getting this completely is because it's also a profitable venture for us. Not just a social value, but it's also a profitable venture for us. So my thought would be to kind of figure out and come up with business models which will allow enterprises to create social value and at the same time have a profitable venture. And that would be an easy way to get this amplified anymore.
Good point. Thank you. Great talk. Ramji, you have had a lot of experience working with both corporates. Many of them have been great supporters of Agastya. It's not a movement, but I guess it is going to be a movement. And also with government. Any thoughts on this?
You know, yeah, this is always a challenge. How do you put a place on the map that it begins to attract a lot of intellectual talent and capital, and gradually ideas, money, all of it. You know, perhaps how Bangalore was created, whenever, the Indian Institute of Science and so on and so forth. So here, you know, yesterday I saw some young people making presentations of their own initiatives, entrepreneurial initiatives. So I think at a practical level, you know, I don't want to repeat what the others have already said, which makes a lot of sense. Maybe the young people sit around the table. What I found very useful in Agastya is creative visualization. So one of the things you start doing is, it doesn't matter what the state of affairs is today in NIZAMABAD, good, bad, and ugly. Visualize the dream, the nirvana. Okay? I did that in Agastya with the school. And I have found that that sort of visualization, I'm not sure where the causality is or how it works, eventually translates into reality. So start visualizing it, and visualizing in some detail. For instance, close your eyes and imagine NIZAMABAD as the center for innovation in whatever areas you think in the whole country. Just imagine and think of what would be there that would make this happen. Now, as the pieces start fitting together in your brain and in your consciousness, you'll be amazed. Slowly it will begin to affect your actions. And you will start attracting people who can make it possible. When I used to go looking for land from Bangalore to Kupang, I used to imagine, because you're sitting in the car for 3 hours, you've got to do something. So I used to imagine that in a few years, people would be coming from all over the world on this road to visit the campus. There was nothing, zero, not even a blade of grass. Now, starting 5 years ago, it happened, and people are coming from all over the world. So I'm a great believer in this creative visualization. You must feel it here, and you must feel it here. It's a sort of technique, and the young people here can do that. Now, one of the things I was talking to Funny about yesterday is we are thinking of launching small innovation labs, like our science centers, in schools and centers across the country. Maybe we should have 10 of those distributed across NIZAMABAD. Small ones. That will start to foster innovation at the grassroots. Now, I know the effect might take several years to become visible, but that is something you can start doing. Get some press coverage for NIZAMABAD. You've got to create a buzz. Easier said than done. Raju would know how to do it. He's already done it to a large extent. Create a buzz that begins to attract people. Find out what the core strength of this place is and project it. I think if you did these things slowly, it would start to happen. Now, we are ourselves hoping that we can start a campus not far near Kamare. And the idea of that is, like the Kupang campus, seed this place and start bringing some people from here and from other parts of India and the world and help create that buzz. So, you know, these are some of my thoughts. Of course, we'll have to sit down and actually work out what exactly it means.
And that's Shravya and Ajit and the rest of my young partners here on the ground, Ravish, this exercise perhaps we ought to be doing about this creative visualization. On that topic, Pani and I talked about it a few times. When we think about the reason why we named it Kakatiya Sandbox is, Kakatiya is sort of the golden era of the Telugu rulers, 1100 to 1300 AD. So that's about 200 years. We're only 5 years into this journey, we still got another 195 years to go. So we are absolutely committed to building an institution, and that's not going to happen without the partnerships that come from both sides. So thank you. Alright, let me just leave it up to questions. Any questions from the audience? Yeah, please. That's one of our lead students. Yeah. You can please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hello sir, I'm Akash. I have a question since the CSR project thing was brought up. So I'll just read it. The Companies Act 2013 said that large companies are required to spend their expenditure about 2% for the CSR projects. Right? So I mean, according to the records, companies have spent around 1,000 crores last year for the CSR projects, which was around 160 crores more than what the law expected, right? So, which means some companies spend more than 2%, right? So, what do you think the government should do in order to, keep that thing increasing, elevating? Do you understand?
You can tell he's an idealist young man, so he wants to know what the government can do. But thank you for asking the question. I get this more for the corporate guy.
I'm not sure anything different should be done. I think the point of the 1% is more to get an idea ingrained into companies that this is something that you want to be thinking of, in my personal opinion. I think also when things become too much regulatory in nature, it becomes mechanical and it doesn't become well-meaning. To me, the kind of work that this requires, it requires heart more than the head. Sorry, I'm a guy who works entirely with my heart and very little with my head. That's my problem in life. So, I think that passion is what is required. The fact that companies are exceeding their official target itself should tell you that it's been a good thing, and it's more of implanting the idea, let the idea flourish. I wouldn't do anything different from a regulatory perspective.
So I think Firoz already talked about the corporate social value, and that's probably a lot more important than actual dollars. But any other questions of Firoz? I'll let you.
I'll ask one question, please.
Yes, please.
Please keep the mic closer.
I feel very happy because my name is Sridevi. I am successful entrepreneur from Kakatiya Sandbox. I feel very happy to interact with you. But a lot of people entrepreneurs don't know how to use the incubations. Please, I need to know that. For example, now they have a lot of incubations, how to develop ourselves and agri-related, different type of people. So, have you followed my question?
So my only point I'm making is, I think there are other entrepreneurs who are going to be speaking here in the afternoon who are probably far better equipped, except of course these two are.
By the way, you're one of the Navotiki entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I'm the maker of Navotiki. A lot of people ask me, that's why I interact with you.
Wonderful, wonderful. She's not only entrepreneurs, she's actually
rural people, they don't know the knowledge, but they have interested. How to connect them? That's why I'm asking from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Again, she's not a it's one of the programs that has actually worked quite well for us. Google has been hosting the Sundays for the Navotiki entrepreneurs. And I maybe that's just one angle. You guys have any thoughts? If you have any comments on the entrepreneurs, anyways, in the corporates, can work with their talent.
I think the easiest way for the corporates to contribute is there's a lot of knowledge that exists in the corporates in terms of how to work with regulatory authorities, how to handle finances, how to run a business, in general efficiency. And that's something that corporates will be more than willing to offer. And even within Hitachi, we kind of run something in Hyderabad, where we encourage a lot of startups to come in and actually take advantage of the knowledge that our finance team has, take advantage of our knowledge that our administrative team has, finance team has, how to work with the government, how to work with regulatory authorities, how to actually even manage your financials. So the one-on-one of running finances for the company, that's something that we'll be able to offer. Apart from that, of course, any form of technology learning, any form of learning that is kind of already codified into the organization that we impart to our people, that's something that is willing to extend. We have been doing that in parts, but not in a very organized fashion as what Rupal represents to do. But we welcome it. If there is any initiative here, if somebody can coordinate from Hitachi's side, we will be more than happy to offer all of this. Anything that you have codified as a knowledge, we will be happy to offer that. Any support that you can offer,
Alright, thank you so much, Deos. I guess getting the signals and I have to wrap it now. So, there's some wonderful insights here, the creative visualization, the social value, and listening to my good friend Sudhir. I just have to find more people like that who are now wanting to do something more as they, get to sort of a stage in their corporate life to engage with the Sandbox ecosystem. Once again, please join me in giving a big round of applause to all the speakers. Thank you.
I request all the panelists to ask. Thank you very much. We'll now break for tea. We have parallel events happening, that is Farmers Mela, and also we have Navotini stalls by local artisans. Please drop by during the break and interact with them. We'll be coming here in 15 minutes, after which we have a very special performance by a renowned Kuchipindi dancer and ink fellow. Please enjoy the tea and thank you everyone. memento to Mr. Halinka.
Who is the head for the marketing and for the gold quest. So Olympic gold medal for India is very important, right? All of you agree? Right? We need to get gold. So she is working with the team to get gold medals for India for a few sports which you talk about. And we have Sujay, who is a startup guy, but he decided to work with a very progressive government and working with the T-Works and is the head director for that. So electronics. So we have government, we have corporate technology, and we have something unique sports. So I'll just give you 2 seconds or 2 minutes on the background of skilling, why each event is required, then we go to each panel member. So till now, the whole idea was after the graduation is done, we take students, bring them into finishing schools, teach them confidence, communication and some skills which are never taught in the colleges and make them eligible for the corporate jobs. It was okay till now because jobs will take 10-15 years to continue the job, changing will take long time. Now the technology is changing every 3 months, new products are coming, new technology is coming. Low-end jobs are going down and you need high-end jobs. Just skilling for 3 months, 6 months is not enough for the jobs. And we are putting 85 lakh students, youth in the job sector. Less than 20 lakhs are taken care of. Remaining all are actually kind of looking for jobs with great aspiration. Now if you don't reimagine skilling to scale to that level to meet needs of 85 lakhs for next 15 years, a demographic dividend could become a demographic curse for India. So reimagining is not a good thing to do. It is must, inevitable and necessary. With that background, we are going to change model how we go from finishing school after the college to actually get inside the colleges and impart skills so that high-end jobs can be created. And with that background, I have one question for Philip in terms of, as a corporate, what do you think change happening in the skilling and what do you expect from education sector and NGOs differently for skilling needs?
Thank you, Vivek. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Sandbox, for having us here. It's been a privilege to be associated with Sandbox. Before I answer your questions, just I'll take 2 minutes in explaining why we are here and what we do. Besides all the cloud computing, mobility, artificial intelligence stuff we do in Sunena, we also have been always looking at how can we make an impact on the larger society of India. One such startup we have started about 2 years ago is about delivering grocery goods to Kirana stores, to small Kirana stores across India through an app. Because these small Kirana stores contribute to almost 50% of grocery trade in India, but they don't get service. They go to a wholesale store, they close their shops and go to wholesale stores and get their groceries. So we are now able to scale quite fast. We are in Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, AP, Chhattisgarh, and that has actually created a tremendous amount of satisfaction for us. About 4 months ago, we had met with Mr. Raju. Came here, saw the impact that Sandbox was making on the society, and we felt that it's a national institution for us to be participating in this. So at this point of time, Srikanth and I, founders of Sunera Technologies, we are very glad to announce that we will be corporate sponsors for Sandbox, contributing over $100,000 over the next 3 years. Besides monitoring, we also are looking forward to participating especially in the skilling area. With all our resources, we have close to 1,000 people working across locations. So whichever way we can contribute as a workforce in terms of our effort, we also look forward to contributing. Coming back to your question today, it's very interesting. As we talk about skilling, the jobs are changing quite rapidly in the corporate world. What we used to do 3-4 years ago, basic development, maintenance, testing, IT work, is no more the same today. We have a lot of cloud computing has come in, thereby reducing the dependence on basic services, the way we test, the way we code, the way we maintain systems. There's a lot more artificial intelligence coming in. A lot of people are talking about some things that started coming in. So when you look at the talent coming in from colleges, our expectations are really high. Now it's time for reimagining what kind of skilling that they should do. Even in the BPO era, chatbots have come in. So it's no more about taking helpless calls, but it's also about ability to train the chatbots so that they can intelligently, communicate with their customers and automatically query, answer a lot of queries. So I'm expecting that the gap between what the job scenarios are changing and what the colleges are doing should be coming down, and that's where we have a big role to play.
This is a very important point, thanks to me. So first of all, let's give a big hand again once more for the contribution from CSR. So 2 points are very important. What he's saying is, first of all, what was required for the corporate was never given earlier, but corporates could actually kind of bridge the gap. But now with the artificial intelligence coming in, the critical thinking and even if you train the chatbots is going to be higher level kind of skill which is required, and that is where we need to start moving towards. I think without that, we will be actually not able to scale. So reimagining the skilling for the high critical thinking, solving the higher problems, training using the AI or kind of training chatbots and other critical. So I think we're looking forward to your partnership to make that happen. But time is short. We are running late. We will have only one more question for all the panel members. If you have any questions, we will take only 2 or 3 questions. So be ready with your questions, raise your hand, and we will have somebody coming to you with the mic. So questions for you, Neha. 2 questions. You are doing skilling, completely unique area, which is sports. So 2 questions I have for you. How is going to impact India? How do you see as an organization that will impact India by going into skilling in the sports area? And second, what are the challenges for your plans to make that happen?
Thank you, Vivek. Firstly, thanks for having me here. So Olympic Gold Quest, we are a non-for-profit organization, and we support the training of some of India's best Olympic hopefuls. Currently, we support 160 athletes. Out of them, 60% are junior athletes whom we are training for 2024 and 2028 Olympics. Talking specifically about your question, I think sport is education. I grew up playing table tennis all my life. I started playing table tennis when I was 7 years old, and I played the Olympics when I was 18 and was one of the youngest Olympians in India. And was the only woman to represent India at the 2008 Beijing Olympics. I think what sport teaches you is something which the 4 walls of a classroom cannot. Sport teaches you discipline, hard work, how do you accept defeat, how do you take victories, how do you prepare for the future, how do you take pain and competition every single day to go that extra mile to win an Olympic medal for India. What we do at Olympic Gold Quest is we identify kids and elite level athletes who possess the skill and the talent but do not have the enough training facilities that are matched to our counterparts like China, US, UK, who are also challenging for an Olympic medal for India. I'll tell you a very interesting story about MC Mary Kom. Not many would know. When boxing was introduced at the 2012 Olympic Games, Mary Kom was playing under 48 kg category. She was supported by us at that time, and her weight category at the Olympics was 51 kg. The challenge here was how do we put on weight for Mary Kom? And it's not the weight that you or me have put on, it's the right kind of weight that she needs to put on to challenge and compete against the best of the best English, the best of the best US athletes around the world. We hired an expert coach from London, Charles Atkinson, to train her on how to put on 3 kgs weight. So how it works at the Olympics is if you're playing under 51 category, the day before your bout, you need to be 50.9 kg to take part in it. So the challenge was to bring her weight up to 3 kgs. For that, we hired a foreign coach. We brought him to India. We hired 2 sparring partners for Mary Kom who identified and were identical to the boxing style of 2 of the most challenging competitors, one from the US and one from the UK. And they were not girls, they were not 51 kg girls, they were guys who were junior guys who were 60 kgs, who were competitors and who could give actually punching practice to Mary Kom. And 3 years of intense training with Charles Atkinson and those 2 sparring partners got her the Olympic bronze medal in 2012. So that's a small example of how a skill of a champion boxer like Mary Kom, and also want to add that before that medal, Mary Kom was 5-time world champion. And nobody knew her. Nobody knew that she was 5-time world champion. And after the London Olympics, of course, Mary Kom is now Mary Kom. So, and the way it has impacted is that in rural Manipur, in Imphal, if you go, there are thousands of girls aged 6 and 7 who are training at Mary Kom and Sarita Devi Academy who want to become the next Mary Kom and Sarita Devi. And I'm very proud to say that Olympic Gold Quest supports those young girls and boys at those 2 academies, providing them daily food, nutrition, physiotherapy, all the sports science things that they need to become the future Mary Koms. And like that, I think it has, the way it has impacted whole of Manipur is so nice to see. If you go at 5 AM at the academy, you will see a whole boxing ring where 4 or 5 boxing rings together and some 100 kids training every day in such rigor. And the kind of education that they are getting and the livelihood that they are able to then get through boxing for their families is incomparable. So the impact that sport has on young kids and individuals and as a country overall is beyond imagination. And I'll leave you with our line that we truly believe in is that it takes only 6 grams of gold to lift the worth of a nation. 6 grams is the weight of gold in an Olympic medal. In the last 2 Olympics, we have not been able to win a gold, and hopefully in Tokyo 2020, we will be able to lift that medal.
It's amazing to hear what your organization has been able to achieve. It looks very superficial that Gold Quest without government what will we do? But it looks like in spite of government you are doing amazing work. So big hand to all.
I'll actually like to add, and taking from your anecdote in your previous panel, that we actually work very closely with the government. And as you said, in India you have to work with the system if you want to make a larger impact. So we actually influence government's policy making and their ability to allocate resources at the right place towards the right athlete and towards the right planning. So we work with the government to allocate the right resources to the right athletes. So it's an amalgamation of various players that work together to help the Indian athlete win that Olympic medal.
So it shows that anything is possible, it is a passion and never quit attitude. And I'm sure with the sports, what you are doing, I think amazing things will come out and amazing champions will come out. So Sujay, last question for you before we go to the audience. Question for you would be, government has at least I think it's good to realize that most of the governments in India are realizing that it is good to work with the not-for-profit NGOs who are doing great work for the society and partner with them to make an impact. So, with the selfish interest, I'm going to ask you a question. Now that you have heard stories, both of them, he wants to kind of create gold medal, he wants to create kind of high-tech killing youth from the foundation kind of grassroots, and Tatania Sharma wants to kind of enable that. So what can Telangana government do differently to reimagining skilling point of view to enable that, accelerate that, and transform that?
Hello, thanks Vivek. I represent the government of Telangana, but you have another person representing the government of Telangana, that is your own Kanindra. I don't know whether you know it, but he is our Chief Innovation Officer. So basically, this kind of shows something about how the governments in India are changing, in the sense that actually I also come from corporate world, Kanindra comes from the corporate world. We have been absorbed into the government to lead some certain initiatives. So this is happening in the state like Telangana, but it is also happening in other states. Many states asked us, actually, when I met the UP government, they said, how does Telangana government recruit people from outside? We would like to know, so that we can do the same thing in Goa and so on. So I think the fact that the government is now ready to absorb people from the corporate into its, the officers, I think it can. Actually, I forgot to mention, Ajit is also here. He is, the heading RICH, another government of Telangana initiative. So coming to some of the skilling part, right? I mean, let me talk about the skilling part. I just want to discuss a few things from a macro perspective. So there was a time about 20 years ago or 10 years ago, we used to read reports called BRICS, BRICS, which was short for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So what they said was these are the 5 countries which will leapfrog and become the most developed over the next 10-15 years. But fast forward, what we see is only China has actually taken the leap. India is kind of behind, but if you see Brazil, it's nowhere. If you see South Africa, it's okay. Russia, not doing well. So just because somebody writes a report does not necessarily happen. So that's the most important thing. The reason I use that is to talk about something more important, is that there is this reports or the myth that is coming about saying that the new industry is going to take away the jobs. This is like automation, robots, they are going to take away the jobs. I think it's more a myth according to me. And the reason is this myth has been floating around many times in the last 200 years. It starts with the dawn of the Industrial Revolution. When the Industrial Revolution, we had introduced machines, and there was a group called Luddites in England. They went around breaking the machines, saying that these are going to take away your jobs. But the machines actually increased the unemployment rate in England. Same thing happened many times, and fast forward 1964, 3 Nobel laureates and many industry bigwigs wrote a letter to the President of the United States saying that the computers which are coming are going to take away our jobs and there will be huge unemployment rate in US. Nothing of that sort happened. What actually happened was unemployment rate completely declined during the time the computers were introduced. So according to me, the same thing is going to happen now. It is just that how as a nation are you preparing yourself for the new industry? That's the question that we have. Now, with the new industry coming in, there is a huge difference between how China is gearing up and how India is gearing up. And that, I think, is the fundamental problem. So what you just said is a demographic dividend. That means we have a lot of young people in our country. Is an asset, provided they are put to use. That means they are working, they have jobs. And for them to have jobs, they have to have the right kind of skill. So that's basically the Skill India, the Make in India, all those things are about. But however, I don't really see us addressing those issues in the right way. So one of the things that I want to highlight here is some of the talks that we have had in the morning is, BBR Mohammed Reddy was saying that 15 years ago, they tried the midday meals to alleviate or address an issue, and they succeeded. Many years later, the governments started doing the same and now Telangana government does it on a very proactive way. Because actually there is a remarkable difference that you can see in the enrollment of the girl child and the male child, provided you have midday meal schemes and good projects. So that's the learning. So here I want to highlight the role of the NGOs. So NGOs do a social experiment in a small pocket. Sometimes they fail, but sometimes they succeed. And that success is what is important for the government. The governments have to start listening to the stories of the NGOs, especially the stories where it has worked, because then the story that has worked in a small pocket suddenly becomes the story across the whole state. And what happens across the whole state suddenly becomes the policy of the nation, as you saw. KCR Garu has created a scheme which is Raitu Bandhu, and today the central government wants to implement it across the entire country. Now, if you see what KCR Garu has done, he created this, in Siddipet region, water reservoir and gave rural water, tap water to every home. He used that experiment and then extrapolated to the entire state of Shivagiraga. Now everybody is taking it. So what I'm trying to say is that the role of the NGOs is quite vital in the sense that they have it's like a startup. You can fail, or the failure, the cost of the failure is less. But they can do many social experiments, and those social experiments have to be, imparted and given to the government so that it becomes a policy. I think coming to the skill, I think it's the same. When I look at, when I hear the stories of Sandbox from Funny, it really is so inspiring because the rate of the rate at which they produce the students and they are absorbed is so commendable. Most of them are absorbed by the industry, right? I think that is what is the learning. And one of the things I'm going to take away from me, because that gives me inspiration again to fight for this, is the important English, right? English. It's so essential. But everybody in here understands the importance of English. It's a simple thing, but it's English. But when you take the debate to the political level, why should we encourage English medium schools? Or should they be in Telugu medium schools? That's a very big debate, right? But this is a social experiment that succeeded. Now, what the government has to do is, hey, it works. This is the way to do it. And then make English medium schools. The government schools could be English medium schools. In the same way, what you guys are doing is, you are taking the problem at hand and imparting those skills to make them ready and making them employable. That is exactly what we should be doing as government. Take the lessons from these social experiments that have happened and make them part of our curriculum. We were just talking in the morning. You want to talk to one or two good principals and make it work for those 50 colleges. But the power of the government is amazing. Oh, it works for 50 colleges. This is what I need, and I make it part of the curriculum, and I enforce it on all colleges, and that works, that happens. So, for example, what you said, you impart, you give this education for the tally, tally. I did one because I was sitting in one MLA, and then we were talking about it, and then MLA says, "Sir, आपका education क्या है? BCom graduate को tally नहीं सिखाते हैं, वो क्या करेगा बाहर?" So, it's the politician also who wants to listen to this story. The minute telling the story that tally actually helped ensuring that all my graduates get a job, that is part of the curriculum. So I think for me, that is the way forward for India. The way forward for India is not top down, where the Prime Minister tells the Chief Ministers tell us what skills to be imparted to our youngsters. I think it's the social experiments which are being carried out, listen to them, what works, make it a part of state policy and then the national policy. Thank you.
Different kind of jobs will become. So if somebody was learning lasers now, he's going to have computer for doing the lasering, but he'll actually kind of use the program, learn the programs to do a better lasering and more jobs will be created. Second thing he is saying is that government, that is the most progressive government in India, has understood that the transformation happens from bottom up, not top down. So this is an amazing opportunity for NGOs here, especially we have one NGO here, to experiment, and I think Sujay and his government will support experimentation at bottom level. And successful experimentation, want to implement at the system, so government will support that. So thanks Sujay, and I'm sure all of us will try to come to you for the experimentation and get support from you. Yeah. Now questions from the audience, because time is less. It's an amazing panel, I had a lot of questions for them, but I was ordered from the big boss that I have to cut down the time. So more questions from the audience. Audience, any questions?
Good afternoon, I'm Brigadier Sriram, Director of the Telangana Academy for Skill and Knowledge. I just open a thought. Everybody talks about skilling, and the end result of skilling should be to enhance the employability quotient of the youth. And till that, all of us still look at it. But I think we're not looking at the retentionability of the student or of the employee after getting in there. You skill them, you give them a job, 2 months later you left the job. So you skilled him, you not even given him a job. So what are your thoughts on that, and is there a way we can probably look in this direction to enhance the employability quotient, but also to look at the retainability of that person in that job? Thank you.
I think once they get into the job, it's a continuous education game. Unless they commit to that continuous education on an ongoing basis, just guaranteeing a retirement would be a definite challenge. So most of the corporates, I'm sure, participating here, we have a continuous training programs, looking at the new trends, new skills that are coming up, and put them through the training program, appraise them, and tell them the gaps that they have, and then keep on counseling them. That should be an ongoing process for sustainable jobs.
So just to answer your question, add up to that. If you take a skilling as a sector specific, let's say I want to train somebody for solar panel, and it goes into solar panel, and the job is kind of temporary. After some time, the person is not able to ramp up and loses his job because it's only sector specific. That's what NSDC is doing today. What Deshpande Foundation is doing today is that we are actually making it sector agnostic. At least 4 or 5 sector, multi-sector and multi-skilling is being done. So it's English communication, confidence building, selling, ability to kind of understand computer literacy, and then doing tally, some accounting and some GST. What is happening is that one particular skill, instead of putting one skill, one sector, multi-skilling. If you do that, then they will be able to have a multiple career in long run. That is what we are doing. And that is helping us, and that we are talking to agencies also. They also agree that they are going to do certification for that also. If we do that, teach, as he says, as Sudhir said, retention is important, so continuous learning is important. If you teach students to learn, how to learn, and develop the confidence, automatically transformation happens. That's what happens. Any other question?
I am Father Sudhakar from Don Bosco. We are working for the youth, children, especially children on the street. But my question is to Neha. You are speaking about training youth, but you spoke about indoor games. Do you also train the field at outdoor athletic sports, be like cricket or football or volleyball or basketball? Or do you only support academies like you spoke about training academy the Northeast region. But do you support only already existing academies, or do you also have academies elsewhere, or was thinking of expanding these academies other parts of India?
So we support athletes in 8 sports, none in team sports. We support in all individual Olympic sports. And why these 8 sports? Because we have identified these sports in which India has the potential to win an Olympic gold medal. These sports are badminton, boxing, shooting, wrestling, archery. These are our 5 priority sports, and 3 sports in which there are exceptional talents available which we should support, which is swimming, weightlifting, and my sport, which is table tennis. To your question, why not team sport? Because we also need to work on the model of resource allocation, right? The challenge for us is to support one athlete who can potentially win 2 medals playing 2 different events. So like a shooter could probably play 25-meter and 50-meter versus supporting a team sport which is 11 people who bring 1 medal. So again, it's a challenge of resource allocation for us as well. And for India in sport, it is the way that individuals, when you enable them, they go far beyond when they work as a team, because then the possibility lies on that one individual and they take better responsibility whilst you work in a team. So both from an organization perspective and both from a natural perspective, we support individual Olympic athletes.
So let me thank the panel members, Sudev, Neha and Sujay, for taking your time and coming here and enlightening the crowd. Thanks for your support and thanks for your participation.
Between Tier 1 and Tier 2 entrepreneurship ecosystem and on innovation in agri and agri-tech. These programs would be at Deshpande Educational Trust Campus, DED Campus, which is a 5-minute drive from here. The lunch for all the delegates is also arranged at the same venue. Post-lunch at this venue, we have 2 events happening in parallel. One of them is Lead Summit, which is a youth conference of 200+ students on building leadership ability. These lead Prayanis have done the dance just after the tea break. So these young students are waiting for you all to interact with them. We also have another parallel event, Navolivi, a micro-entrepreneurs event where they are learning from each other here at this venue. The entrepreneurs are looking forward to interact with you. So please interact with these folks and among each other through these events post-lunch. So we'll now proceed for lunch. I request all the delegates to look out for buses to go to DED campus. Our volunteers are around to assist you. After the completion of events at the DED campus, there will be buses to transport you back here to the venue so that you can reach your own vehicles. So hope you enjoy the lunch and thank you everyone.
What you are talking about in terms of what you do in the program, right? You've come here to get nourishment, you've come here to get nutrition, which is what you will get through the watering that will happen at the sandbox.
खाना क्या है, खाने वाले बहुत होते हैं। सारी शादियों में यही होता है ना, और स्पेशली जिस शादी में खाना अच्छा बना हो वहाँ तो खाना वैसे भी कम पड़ जाता है। So here, I mean, the arrangements are very much wow kind of feeling, but it's good. We appreciate the quality crowd.
People tell now, slow and steady wins the race, and have the patience. तो जिन लोगों ने patience रखा वो तो कभी तक रुके हुए हैं, और जिसको खाना खा के जाना था वो चले गए, है ना? But good, let's clap for yourself. So, at this occasion that we are starting the program here, I quickly summarize because my job is already done in the video. I don't need to tell what is late. I need to tell you what you may get further and late. You will see in the morning, how many of you were there in the morning? Okay, most of you now. You see now great people, so-called role models, speakers, photos on the board, in the building, and they were sitting here, and you were there to clap. Now this platform will signify the importance of you people. We are just here for the namesake, okay? We are not the main heroes of this event. The main heroes of this event are of you people, and that is what we will witness. We will also sit down after some time and listen. So what we will do, basically, we will invite some of the students to come and share their stories, the way it was happening in the first half. Maybe panel needs some time to prepare, but I will invite individual talks. So you should not have coordination issue. That's the bigger thing now. So you will have individual talks here, and then we will listen to you. In between, if you feel you want to listen us, you can invite us. Okay? So we will listen to 2 or 3 talks, and after that we will listen Vivek. He's been working with different kind of people in the community. Then we will listen. The overall objective of this program that we do, helping young college youth to dream big and start working on achieving it. Not necessarily all dreams are fulfilled in life, is it? But it doesn't mean you don't chase for it. ऐसा नहीं कि आप उसके लिए काम करना बंद कर दो, है ना? तो यही वही हम बचपन से वही करते आ रहे हैं और हम आगे भी वही करेंगे. लेकिन कुछ तो है जो हमको अंदर से अपनी जो हमारी ताकत है ना, self potential, we have to realize and we have to keep acting on it, and then that will be the real sense of the program. I'm very happy to see that the Blue Army here, Blue Army here, Blue Army here. Okay, so everywhere is it organized by you people. So this is what is the main intention, and with this note, I will ask you to proceed the event with the leaders talk. Yeah, hello.
So leaders, now we are moving forward for lead talks first. So let me invite Narottam to share his leadership journey in lead. Narottam has completed 30 plus projects so far and has also is attending the lead Prayaga now. So Narottam, please share your experience.
Hi everyone. I'm Narottam. I'm pursuing my BSc in Digital Degree College. I have joined lead in 2017 with the help of Sridhar sir. They gave us orientation in our college, Digital Degree College, and we got getting motivated. So I joined lead. Then after I worked for around some projects, but I took a little gap. That gap, I got some medical opportunity. Then after I completed 13 plus projects. Some of the interesting projects are natural farming, college village camp, and girl higher education, career guidance, etc. And the most important projects are natural farming and girl higher education. What is in natural farming? These days we are having no nutritious food. There is no nutrients in our food. Is there any? We are getting weak day by day. Actually, it is due to pesticides and urea which we are using very much. So, to overcome this, we started to educate villagers and telling them to use organic manure like compost manure and natural manure. And we are also implementing in Kaldurki, a village near Bodhan Mandal, NIZAMABAD district only. And also on the lead office, we are doing terrace gardening. So by this, we are trying to stop pesticides and do natural farming. And second thing is girl higher education. It is also the most impact project. All maximum villages don't send their daughters to schools to educate them because they don't find any need. They think that they are going to Attari or something. And there is no need for educating them. But there is must need. There is chala need in that. Because if there is anything, if there is nothing, India wouldn't develop. I assure you, India completely developed Kanega, girl education lekapothe. That's why we started an initiative, we are going on to educate villagers, to send their daughters to educate them. And before before coming to lead, I was thinking, oh, no one is doing this, no one is coming and cleaning this, something around surroundings and everything. No one is taking the initiatives. But after getting into the league, I found that there is a proverb, right? A complaint starts with A and solution starts with I. That is, now we feel I should start. We should take a lead to proceed to start anything. Finally, I want to give an advice to everyone, student. Lead is a very good platform where you can develop your skills. You can get support, not only in thinking, not only in, they also support in financial matter, to do some projects, to fulfill your dreams. They also support us emotionally also. I face it clearly. And I request everyone to take part and who are in lead to be very active so that we can learn many things. We can learn leadership qualities much more. And thank you. Thank you everyone.
With no knowledge on this lead, I mean what the actually lead is, and what the lead is working for. As my friends were joining in lead, I just followed them, and even I didn't listen to the orientation which was conducted in our college. At the beginning, I just thought lead is just for an entertainment purpose, like they always celebrate an events or the occasions. But after observing the lead activities or the programs and workshops conducted in the lead, like basic leadership program, lead Prayana, I just realized that lead is not for an entertainment purpose. It is working for a social cause, and it also concentrates on different sectors like entrepreneur sector, student career development, village development, and many others. And after joining in lead, I worked on 90 plus projects, and the most impactful and the most satisfactory projects are college to village camp and Nirman Career Guidance. I just want to give a little bit info about these projects. College to village camp is where the leaders from college visit the villages. They interact with the people over there. They survey the people about the problems they are facing in the village, and at last they come up with the solutions. So that there will be a communication between the college students and the village members. And coming to the Nirman guidance, in Nirman Career Guidance, see, in today's generation, the children of 10th or the intermediate, they don't have idea. I mean, they don't have an idea what are their future opportunities. Like, if I ask anyone, everyone says that I just want to become a doctor or engineer. For this, I mean, they don't have any other opportunities. They don't know about the future courses or opportunities. For this reason, our students, I mean, we leaders took workshop from the Nirman organization team, and after taking training, we have conducted many workshops in the government schools, and the impact of this project is 800 plus students, and it benefited 800 plus students. Coming to college to village camp, the college to village camp is also selected as the best project in the lead valedictory 2017. Now, what I learned and what I actually learned from lead. See, before joining lead, if anyone assigned me a task, I used to think for a while, like, will I But now I'm taking part in all the activities. Like you can see me now, I am on this stage talking about my experience in front of you all. So it developed my self-confidence, and it made me more passionate towards my goal. A small message I want to give to you all leaders is see, if you are having a positive and negative, you just check what are the negatives are there in your life. I mean, if you want to do a startup or you want to do a thing, you see the negatives and plan according to those negatives, so that you can go in a positive way. And I personally believe in the LEAD, one of the LEAD slogans, that is efforts meets impact. Efforts in the sense, I have done my best efforts in my journey, and the impact is that I got an opportunity to work with LEAD as a blogger. Initially, I worked as a blogger for all the programs of Factors and Works, and additionally, I got responsibility to handle the social media part for LEAD Prana in Telangana journey. And this is what the experience and what I actually learned in LEAD. So, thank you. That day itself, me and Shruti have decided that we are going to join this institution. We always wanted to work for society, do something for society, but never got a platform to do that. And then we got LEAD, which actually is the best platform, I would say, to work for society and even to work for ourselves. The first workshop we did was, by that we understood what actually a leader is, how a leader should be there. And by the second workshop, we got our best project for me till date, school adoption. We have done nearly 23 plus projects till date, and hopefully we will do more. And in that, I would say the best project was school adoption. Yes, as part of this project, we have adopted a school called Modern Public School in Khalilwadi. It was actually quite famous school when our parents were students. But now that school is not famous for its academic standards, but it's famous for its lack of students. So we decided to choose that school as our destination. We worked for nearly 4 months in that school. Twice a week we used to go to that school, take classes to those students on workshop of communication skills, computer education. We did library renovation there, which was closed for some 50 years. And it was not alone me who did this project. It's only because of total team effort of school adoption team or total LEAD team. I would just like to thank Raju, Jayashree, Ganesh, Lesson Spandana, Navarsha and Navya, and all others who contributed to our project. I would like to thank you, Shruti, for always staying beside me. And not only school adoption project, all the projects like visiting old age home was like an emotional roller coaster for all of us. Whenever we visited the old age homes, we used to feel bad, but they are the persons who gave us more energy. The people living there were very positive, and they always used to tell us to concentrate on our studies and continue to lead. We celebrated all the festivals in old age home only. We celebrated Batkama, we celebrated even New Year in old age home. Old age home was truly one of the best experiences for me in my life. And the first project was food donation in old age home on August 15. That was the first project in LEAD where we donated food from our college function to faraway one Sneha Society in Kandeshwar. And I would say that LEAD has given me so much confidence, because before this I don't think I can even be able to speak with any one of people here. If they are new for me, I would never go to these people and talk to them. But now I am hosting the event and I am calling everyone with all the persons I am able to make my connections. And this is only because of LEAD. And I would like to say to my friends who are in LEAD or who are not in LEAD that we cannot get any best platform than LEAD to know about ourselves and even to develop our knowledge and even to work for the society. I would truly say that LEAD has made me a better person. I would not only thank my team members, but also I think I must always thank our mentors, Ganesh sir, Pradeep sir, Pragati ma'am, and Miss sir a lot for all this. So thank you everyone for
और कोई ज़्यादा कोई कम है क्या? Good. So I appreciate. I would like to ask you both. इसके पहले भी एमओसी कभी किया है क्या? ये जो अभी एंकरिंग कर रहे हैं इसके पहले कभी किया क्या? पहली बार कर रहे हैं? Give them a big hand. A big hand to their mentors who is standing here and this. Big hand to him. I see it's very nice to 130 good Lord. Mentorship is going on, something is happening. I was at office at 2:30 and बहुत कुछ होता है ना, यूथ के पास एनर्जी बहुत है, टाइम भी बहुत है, एनर्जी भी बहुत है और बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं, बट वही उसको राइट डायरेक्शन देना पड़ता है. We have to give the right direction so that they do something constructive. People say like whenever you talk about youth, something negative comes in mind. I have realized in my life, going in a train, sitting beside a family, there is a girl sitting there, they always down on me. Always down on me, मतलब लड़का हो तो शायद there is a girl, तो बीच में आके कैसे बैठ जाए? That is happened or not? And then after that, I take this as a challenge. I have taken 2-3 times as a challenge by my job, by interacting with them, and then after that, I become a part of their family in the same way. This is a real thing that each one of us should take a challenge. Whenever somebody doubts on you, don't leave it. Whether it is a bad opportunity or a bad opportunity, don't leave it. It's an opportunity to prove, because it's not you are proving yourself, you are proving the full community that we are different kind of youth. That is what we all youth who are sitting here are very unique. And whatever way they have shared, Futa Hindi, even I don't say English, whatever they are talking. I will not having that confidence that we are having at this age, at this time, at this big stage. It's very tough to actually come on the stage and talk. आवाज नहीं निकलती है. So I really appreciate you people, okay, and appreciate you both taking this challenge and facilitating this talk, because this is completely platform for you all people, okay. So I would like to now. There are few faculties who have come from far away and I want to know that they have to leave. My request to all the faculties, we really have something to appreciate to the youth, to the faculties. I will request you, please stay for some time. We will have some special thing for you, but before that I would like to have very special thing to occupy these sofas. Okay? And this is going to be very interesting. Okay? So I will take this MOC job for some time. Is it okay? Thank you so much. It's time now. We will do things that we plan a little bit later. I will have 3 people to be invited here. I will invite them here. And then I will facilitate this discussion. हम लोग बात करेंगे बैठ के यहाँ सोफा पे. जैसे हम लोग बात करते हैं ना, कभी किसी के घर जाते हैं, तो हम भी वैसे बात करने वाले हैं. ठीक है? So may I have the first person whom I can invite to join with me here on this stage. We call it as a leaders platform. So please join this leaders platform, Mr. Vinesh Devani. Vinesh Devani is the managing director of Kimoha Enterprises based at Dubai. And he is from the same land, same place, lot of things to share with us, so please join us. Along with that, so I will have the next person, I will have 2 more people to invite in this panel to join with me. The next person who already joined with me, I will again invite you, Mr. Vivek Verma ji, the Chief Strategy Officer of Srinivasa Farm, join with us at the presentation. I have Mr. Alak Naresh, the Chief Executive Officer of A1, who does a lot of inspiring things. So friends, are you comfortable with this kind of टुकड़ा Hindi and English in between? चलेगा ना हिंदी थोड़ा? क्योंकि मुझे तेलुगु आता नहीं है.
Okay? So you have to excuse me. Otherwise, I would have loved to talk in local language. जब तक गाँव वाली भाषा में बात नहीं करते ना, बिल्कुल छुट्टी नहीं है ना? तो उसकी छुट्टी के लिए I will have Himali ji to in between to share something in local language. I may not connect, but I can connect with the expression. That's what I mean. Okay? So this is going to be very interesting. हम बात करेंगे जैसे मैंने बोला था ना, और so to start this thing, because this program that we do here, we work with the students who are after 12th standard. They enter to the college, then they spend 3 or 4 years of time, and then they do a lot of Galata Masti. I'm very sure that you might have done Galata Masti in your life. Okay, everybody has done. Some Galata Masti gives you some learning, and you take it to build on your career. And some Galata Masti remains as a Galata Masti, or you become bekar. है ना? Well, people blame you. It's not because of your company. Company means your friends. So, sir, starting with Mr. Himali, can you tell something about your childhood?
I done my schooling in Gujarati medium to 5th. My parents and everybody was here. Then I came to NIZAMABAD. And I passed 5th and they put me in 7th. Medical Marwadi English School. Okay? I learned Hindi first time. I learned Telugu first time. And ABC first time. Alright? So you are very lucky that you know from ABC from your basic school. So every 3 languages and I failed in 7. Because that was absolutely gone down because there was not that much student. But in second year I passed 7th and 8th. And then turning point came in my life. There was junior technical school in Polytechnic started first time in Nizamabad. And I was the first student there. And that has changed my life. I learned my technical background and it has given me my field. Today witness, understanding everything on this. So you know, it's what basically some student was speaking about positive. I will say one thing in mind, all the problems anytime can come in. But how problems can be taken, there is no simple answer. But if you are positive, you can do that. For that purpose, I practice in a different manner. We are running in our company. We are running that what time you want to keep this mind in 0 condition. Can you stop mind thinking? Whatever you do, yoga you do at very high level, then you can do that. But you cannot stop the thinking that you like to give some rest to the mind. How you can do that? Alright? That's the best exercise. Love. Your mind is 0. No negative thinking, no positive. You laugh, nothing will do. Correct? You laugh and then you relax. So you know things will automatically come. This is the one simple mantra I have.
Thank you, sir. So friends, my request to all of you, listen very carefully, because wherever they are today, they were the speaker in the last panel, where they have been invited to talk and share with the people who are already on the next stage of the life. They are already so-called good reputation in the society, but they are the audience and they are talking and sharing with them their experience. And now they are sharing with you, who are on the starting phase of deciding whether where to go in career, what to do in career. Now, so very, very important to listen their incidents and their mistakes also in the life. Whatever they have done, good or bad, you can correlate because we all are coming from the same kind of background. Okay? So I will have our next speaker, next person whom I am going to chat. So Vivek, Vivek, can you talk something about, if you can recall some of the one or two incidents, when you became a little bit conscious, like I talked about little bit childhood and how we started learning. Something actually we got consciousness, we talk about teenage, maybe from 6th standard to 12th standard.
Can you share something about that?
Yeah, so thank you very much, and wish you people all the best. It's a beautiful program that you people are doing, and and there are a few very unique things that I saw with those 2 or 3 people who came and talked about the projects that they're doing. I do a lot of work with startups, so I'll come to the answer in a minute. But before that, I'm very tempted after listening to these 3 people that a lot of startups that I work with as a mentor, as an investor, quite often fail because they haven't identified the right problem. So a lot of times it's very fashionable to say there is an Uber, let me now find a method to create an Uber for let's say NIZAMABAD or Hyderabad, or do something like that. Or I'll become an Uber for ambulance, or I'll become a Zomato for something else. So there is a whole desire to copy something that's already happening, which means there's someone who's identified a problem. I'm now trying to just go to solve the same problem slightly differently. What I'm finding very unique in my interactions with people is the ability that you people are getting to open your mind's eyes and ears to what's happening around you. Because that's where the real world is, that's where the real problems are, and that's where the real solutions and hence the best businesses of tomorrow are going to come from. And I think in that sense, I must congratulate the whole program of Sandbox, Kakadia, and also at Hooghly and at Varanasi. I think one of the best trainings you people are getting is to do that. So if now I correlate back to the question you were asking. So if I go back to my school days or my early college days, I think we were closed to problems around us because we were living in a cocoon world. I came from a defense officer's family background. My father was an army officer. So I was in that sense slightly more fortunate that I went to a Kendriya Vidyalaya, and hence I got the English education right from early school days. But we were cocoon to the rest of the world. We were living in our own world. We didn't understand a lot of the problems that were happening around us. Right up to the college days when we actually stepped out and when I started living in the hostel for the first time, and that's when the real world, and as I keep saying, that's when life happened to me. Till then I was still in a very protected environment, and I think that's a fantastic exposure you people are getting. So you must make the best use out of it because you're getting real problems and you're solving real problems. That's what the world needs. And I keep saying that every time I interact with college students or school students, I think newspapers nowadays depress us because every day you pick up the newspaper, you're either reading some political story which is depressing you, or you're hearing some disaster story, natural or man-made. So the newspapers depress us, but things like this give you hope, saying, no, I think there are people who are finding real solutions. Coming to your question about an incident, I think I spoke about that at the event last time. I think in my 9th grade is what changed my life, and I keep saying that we have to look at failures very, very importantly. I was at the juncture in 9th standard where I failed in 4 subjects, and for those of you who know the Kendriya Vidyalaya system, there is something called a supplementary exam. So if you fail in up to 3 subjects, you can give a supplementary exam 3 months later, and if you pass that, you are still promoted to go to the next class. I failed in 4, which means technically I was supposed to repeat the class and not allowed to give the complimentary exam. I went and pleaded with the school authorities, the principal, the teachers. Somehow I managed to get the supplementary exams to be allowed for me. And to me, that's when my life actually changed. Because that's when I went back and said, okay, what have I been doing in my life so far? And like he said, I was only known to be someone who was just enjoying life. Life was about having fun. Education, ठीक है, हो जाएगा तो हो जाएगा, doesn't matter, नहीं होगा तो it doesn't matter. Cricket, playing games, cycling, other things were far more important. And that's when I decided that if this is what life needs, that you can't really move ahead unless you have a basic education, unless you realize. So there's a lot of that 3 months, besides studying those 4 subjects or supplementary, I think I studied life. And from there I went on to finish my 10th in first class, finish my 12th in distinction, and then I did my BSc Geology where I topped the university. So for me, my life turned in that 9th standard failure, and hence I keep saying that the biggest lessons you can learn in your life are from failures. And for any one of us who says, I haven't had failure, that's not possible. We all keep having failures. The natural tendency is we ignore the failure because we don't want to think about the bad things. Oh, I failed, no, don't talk about it. Let's talk about the time when I did well. Which of course we must talk about, but I think it's equally important to say, what did I learn from that failure? A failure is a good lesson as long as we learn from it. If we use that failure and get depressed and get into negative thinking, then that's a problem. But just take the failure head on and say, okay, what did I learn? What can I do differently? That's what I did, and I think it worked pretty well for me. So my advice from that incident.
Very good. So that's what happens. You do a mistake and then you get some learning. And when you again do some mistakes, you again get some learning. And in the process of this, you start becoming perfect. And when you become perfect, you start giving guidance to others not to do whatever I have done. Okay? So that's what is like leadership all about, keep improving. The next person who's sitting left side to me, Mr. Alan. I just have this question to you because you look like very fresh. Just to find complete very on. I mean, because the college life. कॉलेज में वही लैंग्वेज बोलते हैं, आपने बिल्कुल सही बताया. कॉलेज में बोलते नया पकड़ा क्योंकि प्रेशर आ गया. Can you have some incidents of those पकड़ास or anything that happened in your life, or how you utilize or misutilize your college life?
Very good question, to be honest with you. I think first of all, I'll just carry on from where Vivek left. And before I sort of start rambling about my college life, I should again sort of tell you guys that the sort of projects that I finally got an opportunity to do in my 4th year, you're getting that opportunity right here, which you're 4 years earlier. B, when I was in my 4th year, back in 2008, the entire college, right? I mean, it was brain drain at its peak. Like, pretty much the best guys would definitely want to go out. Why was that? Because we didn't have a very strong ecosystem back then. Right? And it's a big change. It's heartening to see that all that we were missing, all that I took a 2008 to a 2015 journey, you already have that.